Chapter 279. Bang! Sumo stood blankly in the villa. In fact, nothing around him had changed. However, in his eyes, there was another world. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The entire Muyun villa collapsed and was destroyed. Bluestones rolled and giant trees rustled. Muyun villa fell into the bottomless abyss, bringing with it an endless cloud of dust. That was a world Sumo didn't know. Sumo saw the purple-robed man walking away with Yi Wuhui in his arms. Meanwhile, Yi Wuhui seemed to be asleep in the spell. The silhouette of Ziyi's back was filled with endless loneliness. The purple-robed man did not show any joy of victory. There were two voices in Sumo's ears. King Mu, I have nothing else to ask for, and my obsession is gone. Now that Mu Yun was dead, no one in the Hell Azura world could stop him anymore. King Mu's sword is invincible. Miao Tian, what do you want? King Mu, I have nothing to worry about anymore. Mu Yun, I have repaid the kindness of a pure child. I want freedom. From now on, there will be no more genius Bu Miao Yin in the three realms. Miao Tian, do you regret it? Hee. Why would King Mu regret it? If we regret, how can we become soulless and Taoist people? Even if I have to kill my own bloodline, I, Bu Miao Yin, will never regret it. I, Bu Miao Yin, will never regret. The purple-clothed man's words were sonorous and decisive. At that moment, Sumo's heart shook, because the amount of information in their conversation was too much. Chizi, Bu Miao Yin, Mu Wang, soulless Taoist, Azura realm. Three realms? Where's the Azura and the three realms? Bu Miao Yin? Was that the purple-robed man's name? But what about King Mu? King Mu wasn't one of his three puppets named King Mu. Moreover, the puppet was a swordsman. Soulless and Taoist? Sumo had heard the lyrics before. Back then, Sumo and Mu Jinghong fought outside Windwheel Mountain. He had once summoned the white skeleton. However, Mu Jinghong's soulless and Taoist? Doubting Song Yao Bao. Benzene servant times 4 cuts. Pinsha at this moment, Sumo's mind was in a mess. Everything was definitely not a coincidence, but Sumo couldn't figure out the relationship between them. What was going on? At that moment, everything in the villa changed again. No one knew how much time had passed. The villa of the past was long gone. Sumo saw a black-robed cultivator walking towards the ruins of Muyun Villa. The black-robed cultivator was filled with a baleful aura. His face was extremely ugly, and his eyebrows and eyes were somewhat similar to the eldest young master in the villa. However, there was a purple star between his eyebrows that shone brightly like a demonic star. Black mist rose from his feet. In the mist, a giant creature slowly raised its head. Its eyes were blood red, and its 4 claws wriggled. It was actually an ink-colored old turtle, its shell like a petrified iron plate. The black-robed cultivator tightly gripped the black whip in his hand. The Mara star-chasing whip was the most precious treasure of the Muyun Villa. However, Sumo didn't know him. She didn't know how long the whip was. She could only see the handle in her hand, but she couldn't see where the tip of the whip was. The long whip rotated, as if it could whip the entire world. The aura of the black-robed cultivator was extremely strong. Although it wasn't as strong as the purple-robed cultivator, it seemed to be stronger than everyone in the villa that Sumo had seen. The black-robed cultivator looked around the purple mountain, and then looked down into the bottomless abyss. The wind was blowing the black robe. There were tears in the black-robed cultivator's eyes, and the purple star between his eyebrows was shining brightly. Ancestor, I'm back. Revenge has been taken, but my heart is still unwilling. The black-robed cultivator's hand that was holding the Mara star-chasing whip was slightly pale. Tears finally rolled down. He was the only one left in the entire Yi family. He cried loudly. The black-robed cultivator bowed 3 times in the void, then closed his eyes and left on the turtle. Whoosh! The wind blew, and Sumo's eyes lit up. The sky in the villa was finally bright. However, Sumo stood there in a daze, not moving at all. At this time, Sumo's back was full of sweat, because everything that he saw just now was enough to make Sumo's heart and soul tremble. At this time, Sumo understood that everything he saw must have really happened. That should be the past of the entire villa. But wasn't the villa destroyed? Why was it as good as before? Sumo frowned, still not understanding. Maybe Yi Wuhui would have the answer. So, Sumo calmed himself down and continued to move forward according to the map. Soon, Sumo arrived in front of the villa. When he came, Sumo didn't close the door of the villa, so he saved a lot of effort. With a turn, he directly went out of the villa. Whoosh! Sumo let out a long breath. After all, the nervousness in his heart was slightly relieved when he left the villa. As long as he walked out of the Purple Mountain, everything would be fine. And now, he was only about 100 feet away from being completely safe. However, the moment he went out, Sumo suddenly felt that something behind him was staring at him. That feeling was extremely terrifying, as if there was a blade on his back. Before Sumo turned around, he heard an old voice behind him. "Young man, why didn't you close the door when you came and went?" Hiss! Sumo sucked in a breath of cold air and suddenly leapt forward. In the midst of being busy, he still walked more than 100 feet according to the way he came, and then looked back. Looking again, on the steps of the villa, there was an old woman sitting. The old woman had white hair, wore a green robe, and held a black wooden staff. At this time, the old woman's expression was very calm, as if she was tired of walking and was resting here. Who are you?" Sumo forced himself to calm down. He couldn't see the old woman's realm at all, but he still didn't feel the old woman's killing intent. "Who am I?" The old woman looked at Sumo and smiled. "Young man, of course I am from this villa. My name is Qing Yi, and I am the guardian of this villa. Actually, I should be the one asking you who you are." Qing Yi. Sumo didn't know this name. Just now, in the many scenes of the villa, he didn't seem to see this white-haired old woman. Perhaps this was a character that didn't show up. "Young man, what are you doing in my Siyun villa?" Granny Qing Yi smiled. "Did you take one of the dolls inside? Leave it to me, and I won't kill you." Sumo's heart shook. How did this old woman appear? Didn't Yi Wuhui say that there was no one in the villa? From start to finish, Sumo's every step was in accordance with Yi Wuhui's request. He didn't take a wrong step, but why did a white-haired old woman suddenly appear at the door? Moreover, the old woman actually knew that he took a doll. "Young man, the dolls in this villa can't be missing a single one." Although Granny Qing Yi was still smiling, there was a sinister taste in her smile. At this time, Sumo didn't hesitate at all. He had already left the villa. How could he let all his efforts go to waste? Therefore, Sumo's body quickly retreated. At the same time, with a shake of his hand, the broken bamboo pole was already out. A streak of green light went straight for the white-haired old woman. Sumo wanted to make the first move and gain the upper hand, using offense as defense, advancing his retreat. However, his thinking was a bit optimistic, because when the bamboo pole flew to a distance of 3 zhang from the white-haired old woman, it actually stopped by itself, and Sumo's body quickly retreated. But it was as if a tremendous force was pulling him back. Sumo, who was in the deity tribulation realm, actually leaped over a distance of 3 chi. Hee. Granny Qing Yi grinned. "Young man, how can I let you leave after entering the villa and taking a doll? Not a single person from a Yi clan can be missing." Night Descent. Chapter 280. Nightfall. Following the granny's shout, Sumo saw that everything around him was as dark as ink. At that moment, Sumo's heart tightened, because that darkness was extremely similar to the darkness in the villa. However, the difference was that Sumo was already a part of this darkness. He was no longer a bystander. Creak! All of a sudden, the 2 purple doors of Siyun Villa opened wide. The black guards, the white guards, and the black-clothed man, as well as the many cultivators who appeared in the darkness of the villa just now, all appeared. They stood on both sides of the door, clustered around the black-clothed man and Granny Qing Yi. However, Sumo did not see the girl, Yi Wuhui. At that moment, Sumo involuntarily took a step back. Fortunately, he did not deviate from the route Yi Wuhui gave him. However, at this moment, Sumo was extremely nervous. The granny in green had already slowly stood up. Behind her, were the many cultivators of the villa. However, those people of the villa did not say anything. They only looked at Sumo, their expressions calm, and it was impossible to tell whether they were happy or angry. However, the sense of oppression they gave Sumo was extremely strong. Granny Chingy looked at Sumo and smiled strangely. "Young man, you can't escape. This darkness has already isolated time and space. Quickly give me that doll, or you will be swallowed by this darkness." As she spoke, Granny Chingy waved her hand. Whoosh! Sumo's broken bamboo pole was directly brought back by a strong wind. In front of Granny Chingy, the broken bamboo pole seemed to really become a broken bamboo pole and not a magic treasure. Ever since Sumo started cultivating, this kind of situation had almost never happened. Sumo caught the bamboo pole, his brows tightly knitted. In fact, the most advantageous choice for Sumo at this moment was to use the teleportation jade slip to directly escape. However, Sumo remembered Yi Wuhui's words, that the doll was more important than her life. If, before leaving the villa, Sumo might not have hesitated. However, just now, Sumo was only a few dozen feet away. He was not willing to fail at the last moment. He wanted to give it a try. With a thought, the red dust fan appeared in Sumo's hand. That mystical ancient fan was Sumo's greatest trump card. Schwa! With a flick of his hand, the ancient fan unfurled. Sumo was used to hiding the number 64 skeleton in the red dust ancient fan. With a shake of the ancient fan, the white skeleton landed in front of Sumo. His purple robe was long, and his hood covered his face. As soon as the white skeleton appeared, it naturally emitted the unique aura that belonged to the Silent Death Valley. Granny Chingy's expression changed slightly. An indescribable light flashed across her eyes. "Who are you?" Granny Chingy asked in a deep voice. "Who sent you here?" That voice was completely different from the tone he used just now. At the same time, the black staff in Granny Greenleaf's hand emitted rays of black light. "My name is Sumo." Sumo smirked. He had already decided to take a gamble. If he didn't take the puppet with him, he wouldn't be satisfied. "Sumo? Huh?" Granny Greenleaf sneered. "Give me your life." As she spoke, Granny Chingy raised her hand. The black staff in her hand struck straight at Sumo. However, that moment was very strange, because Granny Greenleaf didn't take out her black staff, but her arm was actually growing infinitely longer. In an instant, it was dozens of feet. It wasn't a magical technique, but a physical body. Puppet. At that moment, Sumo's expression changed slightly. That Granny Greenleaf wasn't a real person, but a puppet. Sumo was extremely shocked. At this moment, if not for the granny using a special technique, Sumo didn't realize that he wasn't facing a real person, but a puppet. That puppet could completely pass off as real, and from the conversation just now, that Granny Greenleaf puppet had its own consciousness. So the so-called doll puppet, that was a person. At that moment, Sumo almost didn't dare to believe his eyes. If Granny Greenleaf was a puppet, then what about the people in the villa? Could it be that they were all puppets? At this moment, Sumo recalled the puppet defense that Yi Wuhui had mentioned. Could it be referring to these people in front of him? This was too terrifying. This exceeded Sumo's understanding. Even the inheritance of the Windwheel lineage didn't have such a situation. The shock in Sumo's heart couldn't be any greater. In this world, who could have such a heaven-defying technique? If there was such a person, Sumo believed that he could be worshipped as a god, because any puppet here could sweep through the White Bone continent or even the Chaotic Gods continent. This villa shouldn't belong to the Chaotic Gods continent. All these thoughts flashed through in an instant, because Granny Greenleaf's black staff had already flown over. An unknown level of pressure directly spread out. At this moment, if not for the white skeleton in front of her, Sumo definitely wouldn't be able to move. However, Sumo didn't have much on him except for the skeletons. The black staff flew over, but the purple-robed skeleton in front of Sumo didn't move. Right now, he was only responsible for protecting Sumo. Whoosh! The other two white skeletons directly flew out of Sumo's storage bag. The two skeletons attacked at the same time. Among them, one grabbed the black staff, and the other grabbed the arm of Granny Greenleaf. The ancient dust fan in Sumo's hand faintly emitted a red light. In fact, the moment she saw that Granny Greenleaf was a puppet, Sumo was both shocked and slightly relieved. After all, puppets were easier to deal with than cultivators. No matter how powerful a puppet was, it was still a puppet. Boom! The two skeletons, respectively, collided with the black staff and the skeletal arm. Unexpectedly, they were evenly matched. In an instant, the spiritual power in the void, like ripples, spread out. Oomph! Granny Greenleaf couldn't help but snort coldly, not gaining the slightest advantage. These two white skeletons were much more powerful than Sumo. And Sumo took this opportunity, relying on the memory just now, to quickly escape from the Purple Mountain. He knew that he was no match for Granny Greenleaf. But how could it be so easy to escape? Whoosh! Granny Greenleaf didn't move, but the black-clothed young master behind her already moved. In an instant, with a shake of one hand, an ink-colored spear stretched out and stabbed straight at Sumo. Sumo, leave the puppet. The black-clothed young master's voice was a bit hoarse, completely different from the clear and melodious voice of the black-clothed young master that Sumo heard in the night in the villa. Chi-Chi, the ink-colored spear, the spearhead flashing with spiritual light, broke through the air. Sumo instinctively moved his mind, and the broken bamboo in his hand flew out to meet the spear. With a dang sound, the ink-colored spear slowed down, and Sumo's broken bamboo was directly shaken off. Although the black-clothed young master wasn't as strong as Granny Greenleaf, he was still not an existence that Sumo could resist. Chi-Chi-Chi. The black-clothed young master turned his wrist, brandished the spear, and several spear flowers shot at Sumo. And just now, in that instant, Sumo patted the storage bag. Whoosh, whoosh, 3 puppets flew out in succession. Purple clothes, a hood. They were the 3 puppets from the Ghost City. In fact, Sumo's original intention was to take out the 3 white skeletons. But perhaps she had made a mistake. The 3 puppets unexpectedly flew out from the broken bag. But Sumo wasn't very familiar with the 3 puppets and had never used them in a real battle. For a moment, Sumo's heart tightened. But the moment the 3 puppets appeared. Chapter 281. At that moment, Sumo was also stunned. At this moment, there were 6 puppets guarding Sumo. 4 of them wore purple robes, while the other 2 were skeletons. Sumo stood behind the puppets. Only in this way could Sumo be relatively safe and not be instantly killed. While Granny Qing and the Black Robe Man were still in a daze, Sumo once again flew out of the Purple Mountain. That was purely based on memory. Sumo felt that as long as he was given a chance, he would be able to escape. However, Sumo was wrong. At that moment, without any interference, Sumo fiercely leaped in the direction of the Purple Mountain. A deity tribulation cultivator could travel 1,000 miles in an instant. In terms of time, Sumo had more than enough. However, Sumo changed his movement technique again and again, and when he landed, he was still inside the Purple Mountain. His surroundings were still boundless darkness. He was only a few meters away from Granny Qing and the others. In a moment of desperation, Sumo moved another 3 or 4 times, but the result was almost the same. Granny Qing looked at Sumo and laughed. Sumo, I've already said that you can't escape. This night has already isolated time and space. How can an yin-yang tribulation cultivator like you escape from my night descent technique? Yin-yang tribulation realm? Sumo looked at Granny Qing but didn't understand what realm she was talking about. However, at this time, Sumo also discovered a problem. It was that the cultivators, or puppets in the villa in front of him, didn't seem as powerful as the cultivators he saw in the villa at night. Of course, this was only a feeling of Sumo's. Sumo, where did you get these puppets? Granny Qing glanced at the puppets. However, her gaze ultimately fell on the 3 puppets, King Mu, Tao Yao, and the life and death man Ghost City. Sumo answered. At this time, Sumo was trying his best to calm down. This was because he needed time to think of a way to escape. He even imagined that a gust of wind would blow and the sky would suddenly brighten. Unless it was a life and death situation, Sumo would never use the teleportation jade slip. The ghost city of the southern domain. Granny Ching Yi frowned slightly, as if thinking about something. Ancestor. Anyone who wears purple should be killed. The one who spoke was the black-clothed young master. At this moment, his eyes were gloomy and full of killing intent. Even the hand that was holding the long spear was a little pale. He stared at the three puppets as if they were his irreconcilable enemies. Everyone who wears purple should be killed? Hee hee. Granny Ching Yi laughed nervously, then slowly nodded. Indeed, as long as the purple robe is not extinguished, my heart will not be at ease. Kill. A cold light flashed in Granny Ching Yi's eyes. When he looked behind her, he saw tens of thousands of black chi surging. Hoo-hoo! All the people of Siyun Mountain Villas instantly spread out and surrounded Sumo. At this moment, Sumo had no way out. Either surrender, or use the teleportation jade slip to escape. Sumo's eyes narrowed, and a cold light flashed in them. At this moment, he didn't care whether the existence in front of him was a puppet or a real person, but Sumo didn't want to be captured, nor did he want to use the teleportation jade slip. Sumo hated to be forced to make any choice. And at this moment, it was no longer a question of being captured and handing over the puppets, because Granny Ching Yi's order was to kill. The only way was to fight. However, if she fought now, Sumo would be putting up a stubborn resistance. But so what? Sumo steeled his heart and decided to fight to the death first. Swish! The red dust fan shook, and tens of thousands of red lights rushed out. The red lights, with Sumo as the center, suddenly spread out. In fact, up until now, Sumo still hadn't figured out what kind of power this red light was. But the red lights rolled up and instantly formed a kind of protection. Dozens of feet around Sumo, it was like a red sea, the waves tumbling, the momentum quite astonishing. Granny Ching Yi frowned slightly. Red dust? How can an Yin-Yang Tribulation Realm cultivator have a red dust to protect her? However, this red dust technique couldn't stop Ching Yi and the others, because even though they were all puppets and couldn't compare to the real Muyun cultivators, they were still at the sempiternal realm. Granny Ching Yi raised the black staff in her hand, pointed it to the sky, and shouted again, "Night falls." Whoosh! In the night, a black wind suddenly rose. The black wind, like a black wave, swept straight at Sumo. In an instant, the night became even darker. Boom! The red dust and the black wind collided, like a landslide and a tsunami, rolling up a red and black light nearly 100 feet high. Standing in the red dust, Sumo's body swayed slightly, and her dancy shook violently, because the force of the impact was too great. At this moment, the pendant on the red dust fan suddenly shone brightly, like a star. At that moment, Sumo felt a warm flow of air from the ancient fan, instantly spreading through her body. Sumo, who had been standing unsteadily, immediately steadied himself. "Set up the formation," shouted Sumo. Looking again, Sumo cast the red dust fan in the air. Then, she formed a seal with both hands. Whoosh, 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 the tattered cloth bag opened. Golden and white light flickered, and in the red dust, there were many skeletons, extremely spectacular. At that moment, the spiritual energy inside the purple mountain fluctuated extremely strangely. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Not counting the three puppets, there were a total of 81. At this moment, according to Sumo's formation, they were scattered in the air like stars in the stars. The aura of the Silent Death Valley permeated the entire mountain. It seemed to be breaking some kind of balance in the purple mountain. Granny Ching Yi and the Black-Robe Man both raised their eyebrows. That kind of aura, even they felt a sense of extreme danger. At this moment, Granny Ching Yi's nightfall continued. The endless black wind was slowly devouring the red dust. Although the red dust fan was powerful, it was still only a magic treasure. Sumo's level determined that she couldn't use the fan's full power. Stubborn resistance. Death is not to be regretted. Granny Ching Yi narrowed her eyes, looking at Sumo's formation. Sumo's skeleton formation was indeed extraordinary, but in her eyes, it was still full of loopholes. Red dust for protection, skeletons for the formation. Granny Qing Yi really didn't expect that an yin-yang tribulation realm cultivator in her eyes would have such power. Sumo's combat power was enough to kill people of the same level. But in front of Siyun Manor, it was impossible. Those skeletons were too strange. Vaguely, it made Granny Qing Yi uneasy. Therefore, she had to use a powerful technique. Cloud dominating the 9 skies. Granny Qing Yi sneered and formed a seal with both hands. She finally used a true great technique. According to the spell level of the Pure Land, it was a world-breaking spell. Undying, Burial, World Breaker, Sea Destroyer, World Immortal. That kind of spell was something that Sumo could only dream of. It was enough to turn everything Sumo had into ashes. Because it was an absolute suppression of power, it had nothing to do with the quality of the formation. When this technique was used, the sky changed color. Whoosh! The nightfall technique was instantly covered. Layers upon layers of purple clouds covered the sky. The break-world power made Sumo feel as if the sky and ground were spinning. In fact, if it weren't for the white skeletons, Sumo would have been turned into ashes. Whoosh, boom, boom. Even so, the white skeletons were swaying left and right under the purple clouds. They relied on their remaining immortal aura to block Granny Qing Yi's technique. Everything happened in an instant. Chapter 282. Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi. Purple clouds covered the sky, and the light of the mortal world was instantly swallowed. There was only a 3-foot remnant light left in front of Sumo. That was because the secular fan was on top of his head. And at that moment, Sumo was almost in a state of absent-mindedness. Even if he wanted to move his mind, it was extremely difficult. At the same time, his formation had long been scattered. Bang, bang, bang. The formation dissipated. Of the 81 skeletons, only 18 were left in an instant. Because only the last 18 skeletons were real, and the others were illusions generated by Sumo's magic. It should be known that the skeletons before number 64 had already been integrated into Sumo's body. However, at this time, even the 9 real skeletons with white light had shakily fallen in. Only the 9 golden skeletons could still stand firm. But Granny Qing Yi's magic was simply unstoppable. Those skeletons could no longer protect Sumo. Sumo already felt suffocated, so he could only give up the puppet and use the jade slip. If he waited for another moment, he might not even have the chance to use the jade slip. He would definitely die. But at this moment, Sumo's body suddenly shook, and the pendant on the secular fan flashed again. The word secular fan was once again as bright as the stars. That seemed to be a wonderful feeling. Sumo's heart suddenly lit up when he was blessed with good fortune. Then, almost subconsciously, Sumo took a step in a very special direction. In Sumo's memory, this was definitely a deviation from the original route. That step was extremely strange and illogical. That step was one of the magical footwork that the little white pig had taught him all those years ago. The magical steps had a total of 7 by 749 steps. Every step seemed to change time and space. That step was only one of them. For Sumo, that was a subconscious behavior. Fortunately, it happened at the moment when Sumo was about to use the jade slip. Whoosh, the wind blew, and the fog surged. In an instant, Sumo felt the scene in front of her suddenly change. It was the same as when he first entered the soul-storing altar. One step, one scenery. At the same time, he lost consciousness. The moment Sumo disappeared, all of her puppets flew back into the tattered sack. Everything disappeared with Sumo. Outside Siyun Manor, Granny Qing Yi thought that she was about to succeed. However, she only saw Sumo's figure move slightly in the purple clouds' secular world. Immediately after, a storm vortex appeared in the void, and Sumo and his puppets disappeared in an instant. Space-time spell. Granny Greenleaf was taken aback. A yin-yang tribulation realm cultivator actually knows space-time magic? That was impossible, because they couldn't even be considered immortals. However, if it wasn't for space-time magic, it would have been impossible for him to escape from her night descent. Unless that Sumo was carrying a special magic weapon. Ancestor. Little sister was taken away by him. The black-robed young master frowned, his voice hoarse. Mm. Granny Chingy nodded with a gloomy face. She really didn't expect Sumo to use space-time magic to escape. She had been careless just now. Unfortunately, we can't leave the Purple Mountain. This time, if Sumo hadn't forgotten to close the door, we wouldn't have been able to get out. With one less puppet, the master will probably be back soon. Everyone, return to the manor. Yes, the black-robed young master replied. In an instant, the darkness dissipated and everyone disappeared. The entirety of Siyun Manor and the Purple Mountain returned to peace. Only the door remained unlocked. At the same time, 7,000 kilometers away, Yi Wuhui's expression suddenly changed, because she had lost the aura of the jade slip on Sumo's body. Yi Wuhui raised an eyebrow. That meant that Sumo might have met with misfortune. Sumo. Yi Wuhui didn't hesitate. Even though she knew she shouldn't have stepped within 7,000 kilometers of the Purple Mountain, she had no choice. Because she had promised Sumo that if anything happened to Sumo, she would risk her life to save him. She wouldn't let Sumo die. Sumo was very important to her. Yi Wuhui took her promise very seriously. Did Sumo take the wrong route? Yi Wuhui thought. At the same time, she flew straight to Siyun Manor. Immortal for a lifetime, Yi Wuhui's cultivation could be said to be unparalleled. However, this Siyun Manor was a special place for her. That was why she couldn't enter. However, when Yi Wuhui rushed within 7,000 kilometers of the Purple Mountain, she encountered no resistance. Yi Wuhui was a little surprised, because this didn't make sense. Theoretically, she should have been imprisoned or even attacked by the puppets. However, nothing happened. So, Yi Wuhui used a spell and arrived in front of Siyun Manor in one step. The Purple Mountain was continuous, and the purple mist was dense. Siyun Manor floated in the valley. It was quaint, elegant, and extraordinary. The purple clouds in the void were condensed and didn't disperse. Mu Yun of the Three Realms, these four words were extremely magnificent. At that moment, Yi Wuhui had a complicated look in her eyes. This was her home. Ding, ding, ding. The purple wind chimes rang in the wind, like Yi Wuhui's state of mind. However, Yi Wuhui was puzzled, because she shouldn't be standing here unscathed. At that moment, Yi Wuhui saw the door of the manor that was unlatched. In an instant, Yi Wuhui's expression changed. She seemed to have forgotten to tell Sumo to always close the door. Otherwise, she would definitely trigger the restriction. Yi Wuhui couldn't care less. Sumo, Sumo. Yi Wuhui moved and entered the manor. If there was no restriction against her, she could go in and out of the entire manor as she pleased. 1 courtyard, 2 courtyards, 3 courtyards. Yi Wuhui's figure was like a blue butterfly, flying around the entire manor in an instant. She shouted and spread out her divine sense to look for her. However, there was no sign of Sumo. Yi Wuhui was extremely anxious. In a 3rd courtyard, Yi Wuhui directly entered the room where the 3-inch puppet was. However, the furnishings in the room were the same, but the 3-inch puppet was gone. Yi Wuhui was stunned. As expected, the 3-inch puppet was gone, and the restriction against her naturally disappeared. Therefore, she could come and go as she pleased. However, where was Sumo? The door of the manor was open. Sumo must have alerted the puppet in the manor. Yi Wuhui spread out her divine sense again. As a matter of fact, there were puppets in every room in the manor. At this moment, not a single one was missing except for the one that Sumo was carrying. That meant that there were no casualties. It was true that Sumo did not have the ability to harm any of the puppets. Yi Wuhui's brows were tightly knitted together. How did Sumo escape from the manor? Yi Wuhui knew that all the puppets in the manor were arcane immortals, which was around the soul burial realm in the Pure Land. The Green Leaf Ancestral Master's puppet was a 7th layer sky immortal, which was roughly equivalent to the sea annihilation realm. It was an existence that could crush the entire chaotic god's realm. Therefore, with Sumo's cultivation, there was no way she could escape. The puppets in the manor would never let Sumo take the puppet away. However, Sumo had disappeared, and she had disappeared with the puppet. Yi Wuhui first left the manor and then closed the door. Standing outside the manor, Yi Wuhui began to form a seal with her hands. It was a great art. She wanted to see what had happened from the remaining auras in the surroundings. Repeat, Yi Wuhui shouted. Whoosh, a purple water mirror floated in the air. All the remaining auras in the surroundings were gathered and instantly formed a picture. Everything that had happened just now was still vivid in her mind. Yi Wuhui's expression was solemn as she bit her lower lip. She saw everything with her own eyes. Thank you, Sumo. Yi Wuhui was on the verge of tears. She knew that Sumo did not give up on the puppet she wanted even at the cost of her life. Yi Wuhui also knew what the puppet meant to her. Chapter 283. Outside Siun Mountain Villa, Yi Wuhui withdrew her spell and sighed softly. No matter what, she felt a little calmer, because she could be sure that Sumo was not killed by the puppets in the villa. That was the best result. Moreover, Sumo took the 3-inch puppet with her. The puppet was in Sumo's hands, so she only needed to find Sumo. Thinking of this, Yi Wuhui smiled. After all, the puppet was in Sumo's hands. Even if she could not find it in a short time, she could rest assured. Looking for Sumo was easier than taking the puppet. Whoosh! Yi Wuhui blew gently. A wind blew in the entire purple mountain. Yi Wuhui wanted to blow away all the aura that belonged to Sumo. That way, no matter how powerful a cultivator was, they would not be able to find Sumo's aura. Ding, ding, dang, dang. Yi Wuhui took 2 steps in the void and instantly disappeared. She naturally had to find Sumo. Siun Mountain Villa and the Purple Mountain completely calmed down. It was as if nothing had happened. Yi Wuhui's purple wind bell also disappeared without a trace. Purple mist and purple light filled the air. The Siun Mountain Villa in the western Liang Mountains was actually a world of its own. If not for Yi Wuhui, Sumo would not have seen or found this villa. At this time, not long after Yi Wuhui left, in the void, there was a fluctuation of spiritual energy. A blue-clothed female cultivator appeared. Her face was extremely beautiful, her grace was extraordinary, and her temperament was even more extraordinary. It was obviously Yi Wuhui, but she did not have the purple wind bell on her arm. Her expression was cold, completely different from Yi Wuhui's gentle temperament. With one step, she directly entered the villa through the purple clouds in the void. She did not use the door at all. The defensive array of the entire villa was useless in front of her. Whoosh! At that moment, if one was in the villa, they would see the sky turn dark. The entire villa seemed to come to life again. In the vast wilderness, in the desolate wasteland. At this time, Sumo was lying under an ancient tree. That ancient tree branch was like a horned dragon, abnormally bold and vigorous. Sumo's face was extremely pale, as if she had suffered a serious internal injury. After a while, he frowned slightly, as if he had woken up from a nightmare. At that moment, he felt sore all over and dizzy. Sumo leaned against the ancient tree and looked around blankly. How long has it been? What kind of place is that? Sumo had questions in her heart, but she couldn't answer them. After calming herself down, Sumo's divine sense slightly spread out. However, there was no sign of human habitation within a radius of several hundred miles. Apart from plants, there were no living creatures. This was actually a desolate and desolate place. Of course, Sumo remembered everything that had happened outside Siun Villa. However, he didn't know how he got here in one step. He remembered that the last step must have deviated from the path Yi Wuhui had given him. At the same time, that step must have originated from the soul storage altar footwork. Did he travel through space and time? Sumo took a deep breath. The spirit energy in this desolate land was extremely thin. So, Sumo took out a pill from his chest pocket, swallowed it, and then sat cross-legged to adjust his breathing. That Granny Ching Ye's great art didn't seem to directly harm Sumo, but in reality, Sumo had been seriously injured. That was because Sumo had the strange skeleton treasure to protect him. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. About 2 hours later, Sumo felt slightly better. He opened his storage bag. The broken bamboo pole, the red dust fan, and the puppets were all there. Not a single item was missing. The 3-inch puppet he had taken from Si-Yun Mountain Villa was lying peacefully in the ragged sack. Whoosh! Sumo couldn't help but let out a long breath. No matter what, he had escaped from death. Moreover, he did not disappoint and helped Yi Wu-Hui take out that puppet. However, at this time, the jade scroll that Yi Wu-Hui had given him was no longer on Sumo. The jade scroll had disappeared. In fact, it was not Sumo's fault, because at that time, Yi Wu-Hui did not expect such a situation to occur. Therefore, when Sumo left Si-Yun Villa, the jade scroll automatically broke. Now that Sumo was not sure where he was, the only thing he could be sure of was that he must be far away from Si-Yun Villa. Standing up, Sumo once again spread out his divine sense. This time, he expanded the range. Finally, he sensed that there was a small town 3,000 miles away. Without hesitation, Sumo directly rode the wind and rushed to the small town. Along the way, it was indeed a wasteland. Moreover, Sumo felt that this wasteland was a bit strange, because the spirit energy here was too thin. This kind of thinness was completely unlike the existence of the chaotic gods continent. Could it be that I stepped out of the chaotic gods continent? Sumo thought to himself, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. If he really stepped out of the chaotic gods continent, then it would be embarrassing. No matter how powerful Yi Wu-Hui was, where could he find him? As Sumo thought to himself, he arrived at the small town in a short time. The town was not large, probably only about 100 families, and it looked quite barren. It was a village of mortals. Landing outside the town, Sumo did not change his appearance. A village of mortals was not a threat to Sumo. Entering the town, there was not much to see. At this time, it was almost dusk, and there were not many people in the town. Fortunately, Sumo found a small tavern and stepped in. "Oh, good day, sir." There was a waiter in the small tavern. He was not very old, only about 20 years old. There was a middle-aged man behind the counter. There were only 6 tables in the small tavern. However, there was not a single customer. The waiter was a little sleepy. The shopkeeper and the waiter did not expect to see a customer at this time. Moreover, they did not know this customer. This meant that the customer had to be at least 700 miles away, because as far as they knew, the nearest village was 700 miles away. "Good day, sir." The waiter was excited and greeted again. "Please sit. What would you like to order?" "Oh, 2 dishes and a jug of wine," Sumo replied casually. In a small tavern of mortals, Sumo could eat anything she wanted. "Yes, sir." The waiter hurried to prepare. Sumo picked a table and sat down. The shopkeeper looked at Sumo and smiled. "Sir, you must have come from a faraway place, right?" "Ha ha." Sumo laughed. "Shopkeeper, you have good eyes." The shopkeeper smiled again. "Sir, are you a cultivator?" "Oh." Sumo was surprised, but she did not hide it. "Shopkeeper, you are mortal. How can you tell that I am a cultivator?" "Ha ha." The shopkeeper seemed very satisfied with his eyes. "I will not hide it from you. I often have cultivators resting here. From your clothes, I can see that you are similar to the cultivators who came before. Therefore, I guess that you're also a cultivator. Otherwise, mortals would not travel all the way to our desolate and remote town." "Oh." Sumo nodded. "Shopkeeper, I have been cultivating in the mountains for a long time. There is no sun or moon in the mountains, and I just came out. Now, I'm a little confused about time and land. Where are we?" The shopkeeper heard Sumo's words and did not find it strange. It seemed that she had come into contact with many cultivators. "Sir, this town is called Baiwang. It belongs to Dongyin Prefecture. Legend has it that 3,000 miles north of this town, there is a big lake. In the big lake, there are many treasures. Therefore, there are occasionally cultivators resting here. Baiwang Town, Dongyin Prefecture." Sumo smiled bitterly in her heart. She did not expect that her one step almost crossed the entire undying country's east and west. Dongyin Prefecture, isn't it the territory of the Dongfang family? Chapter 284. Baiwang Town, Dongyin Prefecture. Sumo had a simple meal in the store. She chatted with the shopkeeper for a while and then left. Outside the town, Sumo took out the map in the jade slip. Unfortunately, Baiwang Town wasn't marked on the map at all. However, Within the borders of East Arrival Prefecture, there was a huge lake marked out, and its name was Ink Lake. That was the great swamp that the shopkeeper of the small inn said often had rare treasures, the place where cultivators roamed. Thus, Suemo had a thought and headed straight for the great swamp that was 3,000 miles away. It was already nighttime. The entire wasteland was dead silent. This wasteland was very special. The spiritual energy there was very thin. A place with thin spiritual energy like this was not suitable for cultivators to cultivate. In fact, Sumo found it strange. The spiritual energy on the chaotic gods continent had always been more abundant than on the bone land. However, the spiritual energy in this wasteland was not as dense as on the bone land. It was very strange. Sumo pondered as he walked. He wasn't fast. However, how could the wind in the god realm be ordinary? Before midnight, Sumo arrived 100 miles south of the Ink Lake. According to the map in the Jade Slip, the Ink Lake was a big lake with a circumference of 3,000 miles. It was shaped like a wheel and contained black water. Nothing floated on it, and no one knew how deep it was. It was said that the Ink Lake was born at the same time as the chaotic gods continent. At this moment, Sumo was standing in the air and looking down. She saw that the black water was very magnificent. Around the big lake was the wasteland. Looking down from the sky, it was like a black mirror embedded in the wasteland. At the same time, it was impossible to walk within 100 miles of the Black Lake. Otherwise, it would sink. Suemo looked at the great swamp and could not help but frown, because the Ink Lake was emitting a very dense spiritual energy. In other words, the spiritual energy in the Ink Lake was much denser than in other places in the wasteland. It was a disproportionate difference. The inside and outside of the Ink Lake were like two different worlds. This attracted Sumo's attention. At that moment, Sumo spread out her spirit sense. It turned out that there were hundreds of cultivators hidden around the swamp. They were all hidden in the wilderness, cultivating core formation, nascent soul, soul transformation, and even a deity tribulation. The cultivators sat around Mo-Ze according to their ranks. Core formation cultivators were at the outermost layer. Nascent soul cultivators were further in, and soul transformation cultivators further in. There was only one deity tribulation cultivator closest to the center of Mo-Ze. He sat alone in the Ink Lake. The closest soul transformation cultivators were 100 miles away. At this moment, they were all using Mo-Ze's spirit energy to cultivate. Because the closer one was to the center of the Ink Lake, the denser the spiritual chi was. Sumo's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Mo-Ze had absorbed the aura of the entire wasteland, causing the entire wasteland to have such a thin spiritual chi? Mo-Ze, could he be the eye of the wasteland of the undying kingdom? It gathered the spirit energy of the surrounding 10,000 miles, and these cultivators used this ink as the source of the spirit energy. But why does Mo-Ze have such an ability? Sumo's Jade Slip map didn't explain it either. Thus, Sumo slightly lowered his cultivation level, making it seem like he was only a peak nascent soul cultivator. At the same time, Sumo's face changed to that of a young cultivator. Then, Sumo descended from the sky and went straight to a cultivator of the same level. "Fellow cultivator, please." Sumo clasped his fists at the tall and skinny late-stage, nascent soul cultivator. "Fellow cultivator, please." That late-stage, nascent soul cultivator looked at Sumo, then clasped his fists back. At this moment, all the nascent soul cultivators were in the same circular orbit. However, the distance between them was quite far. But, as nascent soul cultivators, they could see each other clearly. "May I ask for your name?" "I am a rogue cultivator, Ma Mingfong." That late-stage nascent soul cultivator was quite friendly. Actually, that late-stage nascent soul cultivator, Ma Mingfong, had been here for many days, and he had seen many cultivators rushing here. So, when Sumo came to greet him, he wasn't surprised at all. On the contrary, because they were both late-stage nascent soul cultivators, he felt a sense of familiarity. In less than 3 days, there would be many rare treasures appearing in Ink Marsh. One more friend meant one more way out. No one wanted to make enemies, and it was always good to have more helpers. I am Guan Xiong. Sumo blurted out Guan Xiong's name without hesitation. After all, this was Dongying Prefecture, the territory of the Dongfang family. At this moment, Yi Wuhui wasn't by Sumo's side. If the late-stage deity tribulation cultivators of the Dongfang family or the undying old monster came, Sumo wasn't sure that she could win, and it would be difficult for her to escape. So, it was better to avoid trouble. Since Sumo changed her appearance, she might as well change her name. Fellow cultivator Guan, you came at the right time. Ma Mingfang smiled and said, in less than 3 days, there would be rare treasures appearing here. I guess you are also here to see what is going on. But Ma Mingfang looked like he knew everything and glanced at the inside of Ink Marsh. But there are more than 10 soul-dissolving cultivators and 1 deity tribulation cultivator. We nascent soul realm cultivators would either open our eyes or pick up the leftover treasures. Those who come late might not even have any left. Oh, Sumo's heart moved. He didn't expect that he would come here by chance to see the birth of a rare treasure. Fellow cultivator Ma, this is my first time here. What treasures will there be this time? Sumo asked modestly. Ahem. Ma Mingfang purposely coughed. Brother Guan, you asked the right person. I usually cultivate in Ink Marsh. This Ink Marsh is a strange place in the undying wasteland. It is rich in spiritual energy, which is very good for cultivation. Sometimes there will be some broken pieces of magic treasures flying out, but they are not complete. I heard that this time there will be an undying magic treasure, and there might be more than one. So, many cultivators of the undying country have come here. Then, Ma Mingfang lowered his voice and said, but I heard that the deity tribulation cultivator inside is from the Dongfang family. Alas, if the Dongfang family makes a move, who in the Dongying Prefecture would dare to rob them? If we can get some small benefits, it will be good enough. Oh, Brother Ma is right. If anything happens, please take care of me, Su Imo said in a friendly tone. Brother Guan, if we don't fight, it should be safe here. But if something happens, I will take care of you as much as I can. Ma Mingfang was an honest person. He didn't take everything on himself. Brother Guan, you can sit next to me and cultivate. We can't get magic treasures, but cultivating here will give us more spiritual energy than many other places. Yes. Sumo nodded. So he sat cross-legged 7 or 8 zhang away from Ma Mingfang. Compared to other cultivators, the two of them were very close. At the same time, Sumo's spirit sense spread out and locked on the deity tribulation cultivator inside the Ink Marsh. Of course, Sumo was interested in the undying magic treasure. But Sumo was more interested in the Dongfang family's people. At this time, it was midnight. Wah. Chapter 285. The waves of the marsh attracted everyone's attention. At this time, hundreds of cultivators within 3,000 miles became alert. However, only the deity's tribulation cultivator who was in the center of the marsh was as steady as a mountain. That deity's tribulation cultivator didn't move and even slightly closed his eyes. Sumo's divine sense was locked on that deity's tribulation cultivator. It was a middle-aged male cultivator with a tall stature. His cultivation was at the middle stage of deity's tribulation, a bit higher than Sumo. However, Sumo wasn't afraid of a cultivator at this level. He could easily kill him. Hua. The center of the marsh continued to tumble. Moreover, the waves were getting bigger and bigger. Sumo stared at the black water but couldn't see through it. The black water seemed to be able to devour cultivator's divine sense. Whoosh. At this time, countless black lights suddenly flew out from the marsh. The black lights appeared very suddenly and scattered like flying swords. The deity's tribulation cultivator above the marsh seemed to be prepared and instantly emitted a protective light. Chi. When the black lights touched the deity's protective light, they instantly turned into black smoke. However, there were still many black lights that flew towards the soul transformation cultivators. Those soul transformation cultivators weren't ordinary either. They used all kinds of methods, and no one was hurt by the black lights. However, it was different when they went further out. Wherever the waves rose, there would be black lights. Sumo and Mom Mingfong were fine. They each waved their hands and weren't hurt. However, there were more than a dozen early-stage nascent soul cultivators and even more distant core formation cultivators wailing. Puff! Puff! There were even a few weaker core formation cultivators who were pierced by the black light and fell into the lake. Then, their corpses instantly disappeared. Inside the marsh, I didn't even struggle. Sumo frowned, because in the instant the black light flew over, he had already clearly seen that it was not a flying sword, nor was it even a wave of black water. They were black petals, the petals of a rose. At this moment, Sumo's heart inexplicably trembled. It was a kind of throbbing from the depths of his soul. It was as if the black rose touched something in Sumo's soul. He had seen that kind of rose before. However, that feeling disappeared in a flash, and Sumo didn't even have time to recall it. Hua hua, hua. In the ink pond, the waves had yet to subside. A vortex had already begun to appear in the center of the ink. However, he didn't see any immortal treasure at all. Brother Guan, if something goes wrong, run. Ma Mingfong shouted at Sumo. It doesn't look like the birth of a treasure. Sumo nodded. He also felt that things were a little strange. However, as the black waves surged, the spiritual chi in the entire ink lake instantly increased by several times. Some of the cultivators who witnessed the scene just now wanted to leave. However, at this moment, they were greedy for the spiritual chi, so they were somewhat hesitant. And in that instant of hesitation, endless waves once again appeared on Ink Lake. Swish, 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 rays of even more powerful black light flew out of Ink Lake. This time, the power was even greater. They were like ink-colored missiles. The deity Tribulation Cultivator from the Dongfang family frowned. However, the black light couldn't break through his defense. The dozen or so soul transformation cultivators around him also weren't threatened. However, everyone's faces were a little ugly, because this had never happened before in the ink pond. Would there be another wave? Chi, chi, chi. At this moment, all the nascent soul cultivators summoned their treasures to block the black light. In order to not be too conspicuous, Sumo also held the broken bamboo stick in her hand and waved it left and right. But this time, what appeared were not broken petals, but ink-colored roses. Its power was definitely not something the petals from before could compare to. Sumo and Mom Mingfong saw with their own eyes that a black rose pierced through a nascent soul middle stage cultivator's forehead. In an instant, a gust of black energy spread out from the nascent soul middle stage cultivator's body. Then the cultivator fell into the ink pond and sank to the bottom. The ink pond was like a tomb. At this moment, all the cultivators felt that something was wrong. The spiritual chi was indeed abundant, but the dangerous atmosphere was getting stronger and stronger. The entire ink pond began to spin. At this moment, almost all the cultivators below the nascent soul middle stage and below were swallowed by the black water. The surviving nascent soul cultivators were full of fear. The soul transformation cultivators looked solemn. The deity of the Dongfang family, although standing with his hands behind his back, had completely opened his eyes and frowned slightly. In fact, no one knew that he didn't come for the treasure. A treasure of the undead state wasn't worth it for the Dongfang family to specially send someone here. The news from the Eastern world was that the ink pond seemed to be moving. Sure enough, everything that happened at midnight was very unusual. Brother Guan, let's go. Something's not right. Ma Mingfong shouted. At this moment, Ma Mingfong wasn't the only one who had this idea. Even two early-stage soul transformation cultivators turned around. However, the opportunity was fleeting. It was already impossible to leave now. In an instant, the 3,000 miles of the ink pond turned into a huge whirlpool and began to spin. Even the edge of the ink pond had raised a 100-foot wave. If someone looked down from the void, they would find that the ink pond seemed to be alive. A black whirlpool like a dragon whirlwind, but it didn't go beyond the original ink pond area. The wind surged, the waves rose, and the black fog. At this moment, the entire ink pond seemed to have changed. The spiritual energy was still rising, but this kind of rise had become a nightmare, because all the cultivators had a feeling of suffocation. However, at this moment, no one could break through the barrier of the black water. Sumo raised an eyebrow. He also felt a strange sense of danger. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the center of the ink pond lit up with endless black light. The black light shot into the sky, pushing up layers of waves. On the waves, there was a small black boat. The small boat was only 7 feet long, and it was a canoe. On the body of the boat, there were ancient and strange runes shining, and the light flowed like water. Undying treasure. Someone shouted out. At this moment, everyone understood. Just now, everything that happened on the ink pond was an overture. Everything was for the appearance of this small boat. There really was a treasure. Strangely, at this moment, the pressure on the ink pond slightly decreased. All the cultivators felt their bodies relax. The dangers seemed to have passed. Whoosh! In an instant, a soul transformation realm cultivator rushed over. In front of a treasure, there were naturally people who couldn't hold back. The soul transformation realm cultivator suddenly waved his hand and cast a large golden net. The golden net directly covered the small boat. Return, the soul transformation realm cultivator lightly shouted. When they looked again, the small boat actually followed the net. The cultivators who witnessed this were naturally shocked, because nothing unexpected happened. But how could a normal soul transformation realm cultivator take away a treasure? In an instant, 3 soul transformation realm cultivators rushed towards him. Who didn't want to steal a treasure? But the Dongfang family's deity's tribulation did not move. Chapter 286. Everyone wanted the black boat. 1 soul transformation cultivator made his move, while the other 3 followed. Chi chi chi, chi chi, 3 flying swords. 2 of them went straight for the soul transformation cultivator who threw the golden net. The other one went straight for the golden net. It seemed that the 3 soul transformation cultivators were together. However, the soul transformation cultivator holding the golden net was not afraid at all. A sneer hung at the corner of his mouth. Actually, all 4 of them were soul transformation intermediate stage, and their levels were about the same. Looking again, the soul transformation cultivator suddenly shook the golden net in his hand. Whoosh! The golden net was directly swung up. The black boat, in the midst of the golden net, suddenly emitted endless black light. Dang! A flying sword hit the golden net. However, the golden net was unscathed. That flying sword directly drilled into the golden net, unable to come out. As for the other 2 flying swords, they were easily dodged by the soul transformation cultivator. The 3 soul transformation cultivators who attacked him were slightly stunned. While they were stunned, the soul transformation cultivator once again shook his left hand. In the void, golden light flashed, and 3 rays of light went straight for the 3 soul transformation cultivators. Chirp chirp, the golden light in the void actually emitted bird-like sounds. The 3 soul transformation cultivators who were attacked felt pain in their eyes at the same time, as if their ears were violently pricked. Wind chirping bird, an undead realm spirit bird. Sumo, who was watching the battle from the outside, was also slightly shocked. The wind chirping bird was a legendary spirit bird that was extremely difficult to raise. It usually fed on human blood and occasionally ate human flesh. However, its body was no more than 2 inches, its body was covered in golden feathers, and its long beak was like a needle. Its body could emit golden light, and the light was so dazzling that it could not be seen. Its chirping was extremely special, and its sound waves could pierce one's eardrums and disturb one's soul. At the same time, this bird was most suitable to be used like a flying sword, and its power was several times stronger than other flying swords. The wind-chirping bird could be said to be extremely powerful. However, there were very few cultivators who could successfully raise a wind-chirping bird. Sumo only knew about it from her eldest senior apprentice brother's inheritance. Today was the first time she saw such a spirit bird. Soul transformation cultivator, No wonder that cultivator dared to be the first to snatch the treasure. Chi-chi. Chirp. Sure enough, the three soul transformation cultivators did not expect the other party to have such a powerful spirit bird. Two of the cultivators were instantly shot by the wind chirping bird. Puff. One was in the left eye, the other in the right eye. What was even more frightening was that the wind chirping bird actually pierced through the heads of the two cultivators. After the wind chirping bird, the golden net cultivator shot out another white light. It was a flying knife in the shape of a crescent moon. Wherever the white light passed, the void was cold. I'm afraid it's not a low-grade magic treasure. Chi-chi. Wherever the flying dagger passed, two heads fell towards Moz. At the same time, their corpses instantly fell into the black water and sank into the swamp. The other soul transformation cultivator was luckier. One of the wind chirping birds pierced his left shoulder. However, he immediately took out a magic treasure. The magic treasure was like a lid that directly blocked the flying daggers of the golden net cultivator. However, the soul transformation realm cultivator did not dare to continue fighting. Spirit cultivators were known to be invincible among their peers. Two of his companions had been killed, so he could only try to stay alive. Therefore, after blocking the flying dagger, his figure immediately scattered and disappeared in an instant. Two dead and one injured, clean and tidy. A soul transformation realm mid-stage spirit cultivator was definitely not to be trifled with. Even a late-stage or peak soul transformation realm cultivator would not have absolute confidence in winning against such a spirit cultivator, because one did not know what kind of spirit beast he had. For a moment, the other cultivators did not dare to advance. The Golden Net's soul transformation realm mid-stage cultivator sneered with a hint of disdain. At this time, the deity tribulation realm cultivator from the Dongfang family smiled faintly. The deity tribulation realm power on his body had completely dispersed. Everyone above Moz felt a huge pressure, no matter who it was. Are you a cultivator from the Red Snow Nation? The deity tribulation realm cultivator from the Dongfang family asked. Oh, the soul transformation realm cultivator did not expect the other party to see through his origin at a glance. So he smiled and said, Senior, good eyesight. Wind-chirping birds are natural spirit birds. In the entire chaotic gods continent, there are only two great sects that can raise wind-chirping birds. One is located in the extreme north of the chaotic gods continent, a bitter cold place called the Bitter Cold Sect. However, they basically do not leave the chaotic gods north region. The other is the Myriad Spirit Sect of the Red Snow Country, also in the chaotic gods north region. You first use the wind chirping bird, then the cold moon blade. You must be from the Myriad Spirit Sect. The deity tribulation realm cultivator spoke unhurriedly. Then, he looked at the soul transformation realm cultivator and asked, May I know your name? Myriad Spirit Sect, Yin Fengyun. May I know your name, Senior? Yin Fengyun's attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. Nice to meet you. The deity tribulation realm cultivator nodded. I am Dongfang Mu. Dongfang Mu's answer was simple, but full of arrogance. Dongfang? Yin Fengyun's eyes flashed with surprise. It seemed that the Dongfang family was quite famous. Even in the far north region, Yin Fengyun had heard of the Dongfang family of the Undying Kingdom. Dongfang Mu seemed to be very satisfied with the change in Yin Fengyun's expression and smiled. The Undying Kingdom and the Red Snow Country are millions of miles apart. Let's not interfere with each other's business. Today, you will steal the treasure and kill them. I do not blame you. As long as you leave the Black Boat behind, I will let you go. But you must leave the Undying Kingdom immediately. The Dongfang family's words carried weight in the Undying Kingdom, not to mention they were in Dongyin Prefecture. Therefore, Dongfang Mu felt that his words were very polite, even sincere. Not only him, almost all the cultivators here thought so, except for Sumo. Sumo heard Dongfang Mu's words and sneered in her heart. Since you said you will steal the treasure and kill them, then don't use the Dongfang family's name to pressure others. As expected, Yin Fengyun did nod, but looked at Dongfang Mu and smiled. Senior, since I will steal the treasure with my own ability, then if you want to keep the boat, you should also use your own ability. Then, Yin Fengyan looked at the boat in his golden net. For some reason, Yin Fengyan didn't keep the boat completely after obtaining it. The black boat in the golden net emitted a black glow. It was very strange. At this time, the storm in Ink Marsh had already calmed down. Oh, Dongfang Mu didn't expect Yin Fengyan to be a spirit transformation middle stage. Even if he was a spirit cultivator, he didn't have the right to speak to him like this. Therefore, Dongfang Mu's face darkened. Yin Fengyan, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. The Dongfang family doesn't care about a myriad spirit sect. Senior, my alcohol tolerance is not bad. The myriad spirit sect doesn't care about the Dongfang family either. As he spoke, Yin Fengyan suddenly shook his hand and launched an attack. He swung the golden net in his hand and smashed the boat towards Dongfang Mu. A spirit transformation middle stage, challenging a deity tribulation middle stage, was simply courting death. But Yin Fengyan did it. Chapter 287. Who? The golden net and the black boat covered the sky. Dongfang Mu raised his brows. At that moment, he felt a strange power in the golden net that directly dispersed his god tribulation pressure. That power seemed to come from the black boat. However, Dongfang Mu was a god tribulation cultivator, and one from the Dongfang clan. Dongfang Mu's hands parted in the air. A silver light appeared in the sky. It was a silver coiling dragon rod that brought with it the power of wind and lightning to meet the golden net and the black boat. It seemed that Dongfang Mu did not care about the black boat. Boom! Crack! This time it was a solid hit. The golden light, the strange light, and the black gas instantly scattered, creating a black wave that rose 1,000 feet. Yin Fengyan's body shook and his face instantly paled. A god tribulation cultivator was not someone he could face head-on. This caused his blood to boil and his Dan Si to become unstable. If it wasn't for the boat and the golden net that absorbed most of the power, Yin Fengyan would have been instantly killed. After all, there was a huge gap between them. Actually, Yin Fengyan also wanted to escape. However, his golden net could only cover the boat and not put it into his storage bag. This delayed Yin Fengyan. Chirp, chirp. Yin Fengyan waved his hand and released the 3 wind birds again. The golden light was dazzling and the screeching was ear-piercing. However, Yin Fengyan seemed to have forgotten that he was facing the Dongfang clan that was also proficient in beast taming. Once the wind birds appeared, Dongfang Mu's lips curled into a sneer. At the same time, Yin Fengyan released the 3 wind birds. Dongfang Mu flicked his sleeve, and a bird of prey flew out from it. Its body was 2 feet long, and its wings had a wingspan of 6 to 7 feet. Its feathers were white and gray like an eagle. Yeah, this fierce bird screeched like an eagle, clear and shrill. That scream directly broke the sound attack of the wind birds. At the same time, the fierce bird dived straight towards the 3 wind birds. It was like a gray lightning with an extremely fast speed. At that moment, Sumo slightly frowned while Yin Fengyan's expression changed. White gray eagle. It was the natural enemy of the wind birds. Looking at the void again, the white gray eagle seemed to have eaten the 3 wind chirping birds in one bite. Yin Fengyan's heart ached. It takes at least 30 years to raise a wind songbird. He only had 5 of them on him. This time, they had lost more than half of their forces. However, he didn't have any spirit birds that could deal with a white gray eagle. Whoosh! Yin Fengyan could only take out the cold crescent blade again and slashed at white gray eagle. However, the white gray eagle was extremely agile. Not only did it dodge the attack, but it also clawed at Yin Fengyan. Beast! Yin Fengyan raised his eyebrows. The Myriad Spirit sect was renowned for raising spirit beasts and birds. How could they allow themselves to be captured by an eagle? Looking again, Yin Fengyan's left hand shook and a white light shot out. Crackle! There seemed to be a flash of lightning in the void. It was a long whip that lashed out at white gray eagle. At that moment, the white gray eagle did not dare to face the attack head-on. It could only flap its wings and fly into the void. Spirit repelling whip. Dongfeng Mu sneered and raised his hand. 3 beams of red light shot out from his hand. They were 3 flying daggers that were very similar to Yin Fengyun's cold moonblade. However, the 3 flying daggers were like wheels, and they were suffused with a bloody glow. ZZZT, ZZT, ZZT, ZZZT, ZZT. The 3 flying daggers went straight for Yin Fengyun's spirit repelling whip. Yin Fengyun hurriedly retracted his whip, but he was still a bit too slow. One of the blood-red, flying daggers directly swept Whip Shao ZZT. The spirit-repelling whip was cut off by 3 feet. Such a powerful flying dagger. Unfortunately, Yin Fengyun could not see through the origin of the flying dagger. At this time, the other 2 flying daggers were already coming at him. Yin Fengyun instinctively flung the golden net in his right hand. He seemed to want to block the flying daggers like he did with the Soul Transformation Realm Cultivator's flying sword. However, Dongfeng Mu's 2 flying daggers were far superior to the Soul Transformation Realm Cultivator's flying sword. ZZT, ZZT. Not only did the golden net fail to capture the 2 blood-red daggers, it even cut through several of its golden threads, creating a large hole in the net. The 3rd flying dagger also turned back. ZZZT. The end of the golden net connected to Yin Fengyun was cut off. Immortal treasure? Yin Fengyun's expression changed again. He was at a complete disadvantage against Dongfeng Mu in all aspects. The golden net was the most powerful treasure he had. The mixed gold net was a high-level deity tribulation treasure. However, it could not block Dongfeng Mu's red flying daggers. At this time, Dongfeng Mu whistled. The white-gray eagle swooped down and pecked at Yin Fengyun's forehead. Yin Fengyun suddenly felt an extremely powerful aura binding him. Dongfeng Mu was forming a seal with both hands. Unknowingly, a black light extended from his feet and formed a black circle under Yin Fengyun's feet. It was that black circle that made Yin Fengyun unable to move. The Soul Transformation Realm Cultivator and Deity Tribulation Cultivator could not fight. Yin Fengyun was about to pay the price for his arrogance. With the power of the white-gray eagle, as long as it pecked at Yin Fengyun's forehead, Yin Fengyun would die for sure. At the same time, Dongfeng Mu's hand seal changed. He reached out with one hand and grabbed at the golden net and the small boat. The treasures in Ink Lake were about to change owners. At the critical moment, the cry of a phoenix rang out in the air. When he looked again, he saw a black shadow flying toward the white-gray eagle. The black shadow's speed was much faster than the white-gray eagle. At this time, all the cultivators' expressions changed. Because the black shadow was a large black bird. The bird was more than 5 feet long. When it spread its wings, it was more than 10 feet long. Its body was covered in black feathers, and its long red beak was like a red awl. The black feather deity was formed from the spirit of the river Styx in the dark world. The highest level deity could fight against dragons and phoenixes. When the bird appeared, Dongfeng Mu's face turned pale. He felt what Yin Fengyun had just felt. The black feather deity was a mutant that did not exist in the entire chaotic gods continent. It was known as the king of spirit birds. It usually only existed in many legends. The black feather deity was even stronger than the 3 divine beasts of the Pure Land. It was a divine beast that should not have appeared in the Pure Land. The scene just now seemed to be repeating itself. But this time, it was the white-gray eagle that was eaten. The black feather deity let out a cry that made the white-gray eagle tremble. It opened its red beak and swallowed the white-gray eagle. The black feather deity did not need sumo to control it. It charged toward Dongfeng Mu. The divine bird's power was extraordinary. Its long beak was comparable to an undying flying sword. Dongfeng Mu could only back away and flick his sleeve. With the power of the god's tribulation, his sleeve was comparable to a god's tribulation artifact. Boom! However, the black feather deity flapped its wings, and the two clashed head-on. The black feather deity used the recoil to soar into the sky, while Dongfeng Mu's sleeve was in tatters. Who released the black feather deity? Dongfeng Mu turned around and glared. Meanwhile, Sumo's figure moved. The bamboo pole in his hand was aimed at Dongfang Mu's chest. Guan Xiong. Ma Mingfang did not see Sumo release the black feather deity. He thought Sumo was risking his life to launch a sneak attack. He yelled to stop Sumo. Chapter 288. Dongfang Mu fought Yin Fengyun with ease. However, he didn't expect Sumo to suddenly appear and release a black feather deity. Divinity's tribulation. The moment Sumo attacked, Dongfang Mu sensed Sumo's cultivation. Although Sumo was only at the early stage of Divinity's tribulation, there was still a difference between Divinity's tribulation and soul transformation. Not to mention, this attack was too sudden. To be honest, Dongfang Mu never thought that someone would dare to attack him in Dongyin County. As for what grade of magic treasure the broken bamboo pole was, Sut Mo had no idea. However, the bamboo pole had only been sent flying by Granny Qingya once at Siyun Manor. That could only be attributed to Sumo's cultivation being too low. The rest of the battles had been successful. Chi. The bamboo pole broke through the air, and the azure light was like a sword. Dongfang Mu could only retreat. At the same time, he thought of something. The 3 flying daggers that were still in the air went straight for Sumo. 2 of them went straight for the bamboo pole, and the other for Sumo. Umph! Sumo sneered. He was already prepared and flicked his wrist. Clang, clang, clang. The broken bamboo pole flicked left and right, and the 2 flying daggers were directly knocked away by the broken bamboo pole. The daggers that could cut through the golden net were useless against the bamboo pole. The 3rd flying knife had just arrived in front of Su Mo. With a wave of Su Mo's hand, a ragged cloth bag appeared in his hand. Whoosh! The bag opened in the wind like a black hole. Whoosh! The flying dagger flew into the ragged sack and disappeared without a trace. Sumo's lips curled. The bag didn't disappoint him. Dongfang Mu was taken aback. That bag looked like a beggar's. What kind of treasure was it? When he looked again, he saw that Su Mo had tossed the ragged bag into the air. Whoosh, whoosh! The other 2 flying daggers hovering in the air were also collected. The most shocking thing was that the bag was aimed at the black boat. Go! Sumo shouted. Whoosh! The golden net and the black boat flew into the ragged sack. Seeing this, Yin Fengyun could not help but grin. Of course, Sumo saved him, but he also lost his own magic weapon. However, Yin Fengyun couldn't help but admire Sumo's ragged bag. Just now, although his golden net had enveloped the small boat, it was unable to truly capture it. Otherwise, Yin Fengyun would have escaped long ago. At the same time, the cultivators outside the arena were also dumbfounded. This cultivator, named Guan Xiong, was actually this powerful? Ma Mingfang's face was filled with terror, because he had just shamelessly boasted that he would take care of Sumo. This Guan Xiong is actually a deity tribulation expert. For a moment, Ma Mingfang didn't know whether his performance was a blessing or a curse. Above the ink lake, Sumo instantly collected the small boat that appeared in the ink lake. Dongfang Mu's expression changed. This was because it was entirely possible for a deity to escape from him. At this moment, he had to make Sumo and Yin Fengyun stay, or else the Dongfang clan would lose face. Everyone, today, the Dongfang clan will reward those who help me capture Guan Xiong and Yin Fengyun. Dongfang Mu stared at Sumo, but his voice echoed in the surroundings. The Dongfang clan would reward them handsomely. One must know that the Dongfang clan was the absolute ruler of the Undying Kingdom. Many people wanted to befriend them but didn't have the chance, and today was a good opportunity. Strength in numbers. Moreover, there was Dongfang Mu, a deity tribulation expert, overseeing the situation. The Dongyin Prefecture's cultivators had the absolute advantage. Therefore, as soon as Dongfang Mu spoke, the dozen soul transformation realm cultivators who hadn't left yet instantly appeared. Above the ink lake, black water surged. They cooperated with Dongfang Mu to surround Sumo and Yin Fengyun in the ink lake. One was a deity tribulation intermediate stage cultivator, and the rest were at least soul transformation intermediate stage. Among them, There was no lack of great perfection, soul, transformation, and half-step deity tribulation cultivators. As for Sumo, she scanned the surroundings and sneered. Back then, the weakest cultivator outside Siyin Villa was a deity burial realm cultivator, but Sumo was able to escape. Why would she be afraid now? Having seen the world, Sumo didn't care about these cultivators at all. He had too many methods to kill them all. At this moment, Heiyu Hong was hovering above Sumo's head, glaring at the Dongyin Prefecture's cultivators. Those who block me will die. If you leave now, I won't kill you. Sumo looked around and said coldly. However, no one was on Sumo's side at this moment. The Dongfang clan was definitely powerful in the Dongyin Prefecture. Not to mention the Soul Transformation Realm cultivators who believed that Sumo couldn't escape from a deity tribulation. Even the nascent Soul Realm cultivators stood in special positions, wanting to fish in troubled waters. Only Ma Mingfang was a little dazed. It wasn't that he didn't want to reap benefits, but he was a little hesitant, because he felt that Sumo might not be ordinary. So, he stood where he was and didn't move. However, he definitely wouldn't stand on Sumo's side. After all, he didn't know this young cultivator called Guanxiong. None of the Dongyin Prefecture's cultivators moved. Dongfang Mu was very satisfied with the situation and couldn't help but sneer. You too, just give up. Don't waste our energy. I can leave your corpses intact. At this moment, Yin Fengyin was a little regretful for his rashness just now. However, things had already come to this, he couldn't retreat. He knew that he could only fight to the death. So, Yin Fengyin cupped his hands at Sumo. Thank you for your help, Senior Guan. If I don't die today, I will definitely repay you in the future. Sumo shook one of her hands. The golden net in the bag flew back to Yin Fengyin's hand. It's nothing, don't mention it. Sumo looked at Dongfang Mu, but she was talking to Yin Fengyin. I will look up to anyone who can't get along with the Dongfang clan. Cultivator Yin, just wait to repay me. Dongfang Mu, I won't leave your corpse intact. As soon as Sumo said this, Dongfang Mu's heart shook. Because, according to Sumo's words, it seemed that he came for the Dongfang clan. This caused Dongfang Mu to be somewhat surprised. It seemed that no one in the Undying Kingdom would dare to make such a statement. Guanxiong, you're courting death. Sumo's words also angered Dongfang Mu. The two of them charged at each other almost at the same time. Dongfang Mu once again took out the silver coiling dragon staff, while Sumo was still holding the broken bamboo pole. However, at the same time, Sumo's mind moved, and the three purple puppets in the bag were summoned by him. Life and Death Man, King Mu Tao Yao. Purple clothes fluttered, murderous intent surged. Kill, Sumo ordered. Who? The three puppets directly charged at the surrounding Soul Transformation Realm cultivators. One must know that those were three puppets with at least deity tribulation battle strength. At this moment, it was like a tiger charging into a pack of wolves. At the same time, Heiyu Shanhong also joined the battle. Ever since Mu Jinghong died, Sumo almost never used Heiyu Shanhong in battle. This time, Heiyu Shanhong seemed to have finally found an opening to vent his anger. Incomparably ferocious and incomparably cruel. Puff, puff. Heiyu Shanhong seemed to have pierced through the heads of two Soul Transformation Realm intermediate stage cultivators in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Yin Fengyin was somewhat dumbfounded, because he did not even have the chance to attack. Currently, none of the Soul Transformation Realm cultivators could get close to him. The three puppets and the black feather deity lake blocked everything. Moreover, it was basically a massacre. Yin Fengyin had never seen the technique of the three puppets before. A spirit cultivator who could control puppets was simply invincible. At this moment, Sumo waved the bamboo pole in his hand and was actually evenly matched with Dongfang Mu. Yin Fengyun's heroic spirit soared, and he was about to take the initiative to join the battle. However, just as he was about to move, puff! Chapter 289. An early-stage deity tribulation cultivator against an intermediate-stage deity tribulation cultivator. Sumo had no advantage in terms of cultivation and was at a disadvantage. However, Sumo's magic treasures were far superior to Dongfang Mu's. Dongfang Mu didn't expect Sumo to have such powerful puppets, and not just one at that. He was able to suppress all the Dongyin cultivators by himself. At this moment, Dongfang Mu had an ominous feeling. Sumo's broken bamboo pole danced up and down, not inferior to his silver coiling dragon staff. In fact, Dongfang Mu still had spirit beasts, but because of Black Feather Deity's existence, he couldn't let them out easily. Otherwise, his spirit beast levels weren't high enough and would become Black Feather Deity's food. Dongfang Mu regretted that he didn't prepare enough this time. He didn't expect to encounter such a powerful cultivator in a small place like Ink Lake. However, Dongfang Mu was still an intermediate stage deity tribulation cultivator of the Dongfang clan. At this moment, his mind moved and a magic treasure flew out from his storage pouch. At the same time, Dongfang Mu quickly formed a seal with both hands. In the void, a gray urn suddenly appeared. It was 3 feet tall and covered in dazzling runes. The moment Suemo saw the large urn, he immediately thought of the large green urn in the soul storage altar. Although the two were different, they were somewhat similar. Sumo once again felt that the Dongfang clan should be related to the soul storage altar. It shouldn't be as simple as killing the Dracophant's soul-devouring beast. He looked at the huge urn, which was heading straight for Sumo's head. It should be an undying rank magic treasure. Sumo looked up and saw the blue flame flickering inside the urn. Its light was scorching and burning fiercely. Without a doubt, if she was covered by this urn, she would die without a doubt. Sumo would most likely be turned into ashes inside the urn. Collect. Sumo took out the tattered bag again. Buzz. The jar shuddered violently in the air and turned into a ray of light, which was collected by the ragged bag. Dongfang Mu's face instantly turned pale. That urn was a precious treasure of the clan. Even undying cultivators had to be wary of it. In Dongfang Mu's opinion, that large urn was even more powerful than the ink-colored boat from before. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation was unfavorable, he wouldn't have used it. But Sumo had actually taken it? Dongfang Mu was slightly stunned, but Sumo did not stop. 2 beams of golden light flew out of the ragged sack. Those 2 streaks of golden light were precisely the netherworld treasure Li Yuanshu obtained from the Immortal Temple, the Divine Dragon Binding Rope. The Divine Dragon Binding Rope had once been able to bind Sumo's white skeleton. Its power was definitely not ordinary. Chi-Chi. Whew. In a hurry, Dongfang Mu dodged 3 times, but the Divine Dragon Binding Rope followed him like a shadow, and he couldn't get rid of it at all. Chi-Chi-Chi. 2 Divine Dragon Binding Ropes bound Dongfang Mu. However, Dongfang Mujin was not an ordinary person. Puff! He bit his tongue and spat out a mouthful of soul blood. At the same time, something that looked like a firecracker suddenly flew out of his storage ring and into the sky. Bang! Fireworks exploded in the void, illuminating tens of thousands of miles. That was the Dongfang clan's distress signal. The soul blood that Dongfang Mu spat out directly turned into a sharp claw that grabbed at Sumo. It had to be said that the Dongfang clan's cultivators were extremely valiant. Sumo raised her head to look at the firecracker, but she was slightly slower in dodging it. Puff! The sharp claw directly grabbed Sumo's left shoulder, and blood instantly flowed out. Ha ha! Although Dongfang Mu was tied up, his expression was ferocious. Guanxiong, you can't leave Dongyin County. The Dongfang clan will not let you go. Sumo looked at her left shoulder and raised her eyebrows. Dongfang Mu, unfortunately, you can't see anything. Puff! Looking again, a purple-clothed puppet had unknowingly appeared behind Dongfang Mu. It stretched out its hand, and its skeletal arm directly penetrated Dongfang Mu's back. It was the purple-clothed number 64 skeleton. Dongfang Mu looked back in a daze, but unfortunately, he only saw a skeleton's face. Even in death, he still did not believe that Sumo, an early-stage deity tribulation cultivator, could actually kill him. He did not believe that anyone in Dongyin County would dare to kill him. The corner of Sumo's mouth curved, and he suddenly clenched his hand. Looking again, the purple-clothed skeleton's arm flashed with white light. Bang! Dongfang Mu's body directly exploded and instantly turned into endless blood mist. Sumo grabbed the void with one hand. Dongfang Mu's soul energy was actually gathered in his hand, forming a ball of soul energy. Then, Sumo kept the ball of soul energy in his bosom. Of course, he did not want to keep the ball of soul energy. He only wanted to feed Humph. The little white pig loved soul energy the most. For the Dracophant soul-devouring beast, the deity tribulation level soul energy was far better than other pills and spirit food. Just now, the little guy wanted to jump out, but Sumo stopped him. Because now, Sumo was using Guan Xiong's name. But once the little white pig appeared, the Dongfang clan would immediately know that he was Sumo. Guan Xiong, since he already used your name, then he will continue to be the scapegoat. Sumo laughed in his heart. Maybe the Dongfang clan can help me find Guan Xiong. In the end, Sumo raised his hand and took Dongfang Mu's storage bag. Of course, Sumo would take the storage bag of a deity tribulation cultivator, let alone a deity tribulation cultivator of the Dongfang clan. At this moment, there was almost no one on the entire ink marsh. Sumo and Yin Fengyun stood at the center of the ink marsh, surrounded by 4 purple-clothed puppets, and above their heads hovered the black feather deity. As for the other Dongyin County cultivators, they were either dead or had escaped, and almost all of them had disappeared. King Mu, Tao Yao, and Life and Death Man. The 3 puppets were actually not stained with a single drop of blood. However, Yin Fengyun was dumbfounded, because he saw with his own eyes that these 3 puppets had personally killed more than 10 soul transformation cultivators. Sword rays crisscrossed, sparks shot in all directions, and banners flickered. If he did not see them fly out from Sumo's tattered bag with his own eyes, Yin Fengyun would have suspected that these 3 purple-clothed puppets were deity tribulation cultivators. As for the black feather deity, it had completely swallowed a few soul transformation cultivators and was extremely ferocious. All of this made Yin Fengyun's heart palpitate. At this moment, Ma Mingfang, who had not left, had the same feeling as him. Guan Xiong, quickly run. The Dongfang clan will be here soon. Ma Mingfang was really a warm-hearted person. Brother Ma, we will meet again. This jade scroll is for you. If there is anything I can help you with, just break this jade scroll. Sumo threw a jade scroll to Ma Mingfang. This could be considered as forming a good relationship. Ink marsh, black water soup. Sumo looked at the black water under his feet, but he still could not see through it. However, his intuition told him that this ink marsh was definitely not simple. However, this was not the time to study it. No matter how powerful Sumo was, he would not dare to fight against the reinforcements of the Dongfang clan. Yin Fengyun, let's go. Sumo's thoughts moved, and the puppets retracted, bringing Yin Fengyun along as they disappeared above the ink marsh. Ma Mingfang did not dare to stay any longer, and he immediately used a talisman to escape. Less than half an hour after they disappeared, a portal appeared in the rift above Mose. 3 cultivators walked out from the array door. 2 males and 1 female. All of them were in the undead realm. Unfortunately, Sumo had erased all of their auras. Chapter 290. Undying Kingdom, northernmost part of Eastern Yin County, an ancient village. At this time, the sky was already bright, but there was no one around. This place was more than 20,000 li away from Ink Marsh. Sumo and Yin Fengyun both showed themselves. After a night of running, the 2 of them were a little tired. At present, this place should be relatively safe. Thank you, Senior, for saving my life. Yin Fengyun thanked Sumo again. Are your injuries all right? I have some top-quality healing pills here. Saying so, Yin Fengyun took out his own pills. But Sumo smiled and waved his hand. The injury on his shoulder was already under control. Actually, it was just a superficial wound, no problem at all. Sumo was a divine doctor. Of course, he didn't need other people's medicine. At this time, Sumo didn't show his true appearance. He smiled. Fellow Yin, we've been through life and death together. Now, the Dongfang clan is probably hunting us everywhere. What do you plan to do now that we've escaped Ink Marsh? I won't hide it from Senior. Yin Fengyun was a bit embarrassed. There's always someone better. Yin Feng Yun, act frivolously. If not for Senior last night, I would have died in Inkmarsh. Now that I've offended the Dongfang clan, I naturally can't stay in Undying Kingdom. I want to return to Red Snow Country's Myriad Spirit sect. Senior, why don't you come with me? As long as we reach Red Snow Country, I can guarantee your safety. The Dongfang clan could summon wind and rain in Undying Kingdom. Therefore, Yin Fengyun's choice was correct. He wanted to return to his territory. No matter how powerful the Dongfang clan was, they couldn't fully display their power in Red Snow Country. Yes, Sumo nodded. The Dongfang clan is powerful. Returning to Red Snow Country is indeed the best choice. But I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't be able to leave with you. Senior, it's too dangerous for you to stay in Undying Kingdom. The Dongfang clan will definitely use the entire country's power to hunt you down. Yin Fengyun was still a bit worried. No matter. I have my own ways. Sumo smiled. Yin Fengyun had seen Sumo's prowess with his own eyes. Some things weren't convenient to tell him, so he didn't say much. After that, he took out a silver order token from his pocket. The words Myriad Spirit were carved on it. Senior, this is a Myriad Spirit sect medallion. If you come to the Red Snow Country one day, please come to the Thousand Spirit Mountain for a chat. Yin Fengyun, will never forget the favor of saving my life. Sumo smiled as she received the token. She felt that this Yin Fengyun was also a passionate person. All right. Sumo nodded and pointed with one finger. Instantly, a teleportation formation appeared beneath their feet. Yin Fengyun was stunned. This was because he could sense that it was definitely not a simple teleportation formation, but a grand formation. You and I are fated, so I will send you on your last journey. The formation beneath our feet leads directly to the northern region of the chaotic gods. Fellow Taoist Yin, take care. With that said, Sumo's hand seal changed. Yin Fengyun didn't even have time to say goodbye when he felt his vision go black and wind blow by his ears. He couldn't help but be shocked. He suddenly understood that Sumo sent him into the teleportation formation between the various regions. One had to know that this kind of teleportation formation existed in the 4 great countries of the Immortal Kingdom. However, Yin Fengyun definitely didn't dare to use it now. Otherwise, he would be captured by the Dongfang family. However, Sumo had instantly sent him into the teleportation formation with a point of his finger. Just who is this Senior Guanxiong? Sumo's abilities shocked Yin Fengyun. In reality, the formation beneath their feet was only connected to the Forgotten Capital City's teleportation formation. Sumo secretly used the teleportation jade token to send Yin Fengyun into the north region of the Chaotic Gods formation. It was like getting a free ride. After sending Yin Fengyun away, Sumo obviously wouldn't leave. This was because he still had to find Yi Wuhui. The puppet that he brought back from the Xiyin Manor was still with him. He was going to hand it over to Yi Wuhui. At the same time, he really wanted the undying realm that Yi Wuhui promised him. Otherwise, how long would it take to reach the rebirth realm? Sumo guessed that Yi Wuhui was also looking for him. The two of them wouldn't easily leave the Undying Kingdom without meeting each other. After all, once they left the Undying Kingdom, where would they meet again in the vast continent? After thinking for a while, Sumo felt that he should return to Xiliang Prefecture first. Theoretically, they should wait at the place where they separated. Thus, Sumo changed his appearance to that of a middle-aged man. This was also Sumo's biggest reliance. Just now, he said Guanxiong's name with a different appearance. Now he changed his appearance and suppressed his cultivation to the spirit transformation intermediate stage. Presumably, even if the undying realm of the Dongfang family met him face to face, they wouldn't know that he was the one who killed Dongfang Mu. Thus, he was still safe in the Undying Kingdom. Sumo took out the Sky Wheel Immortal Boat and went straight to Xiliang Prefecture. From the northernmost part of Dongyin Kingdom to the Xiliang Mountains, he almost crossed the entire Undying Kingdom. This time, Sumo was in a hurry, so he rushed all the way and used the Sky Wheel Immortal Boat to its limit. At dusk, Sumo arrived at the place where he and Yi Wuhui separated. It was a valley exactly 7,000 miles away from Siyin Manor. However, Sumo didn't see Wu Hui at all. Fortunately, Sumo took out the storm tent here. He decided to wait for Yi Wu Hui here, and, at the same time, take a short rest. After a night of fighting and rushing, even though he was a deity tribulation cultivator, Sumo was still slightly tired. Sitting cross-legged, Sumo adjusted his chi and circulated his energy. At the same time, he took out the little white pig and the number 64 puppet. This was Sumo's habit. When he meditated, he let them be on guard. This was relatively safe. Now, Sumo's unwithering technique had reached the unwithering bones realm. Because he had fused with 63 white skeletons, the unwithering bones was basically a matter of course. However, the cultivation of the unwithering soul had reached a bottleneck. Because, according to the requirements of the unwithering technique, only those who reached the undying realm could cultivate the unwithering soul. And once the unwithering soul was cultivated, one could directly enter the deity burial realm. After meditating for 6 hours, Sumo felt that his physical strength and energy had recovered. At this time, it was already deep into the night. Outside the storm tent, there was the occasional roar of wild beasts. The little white pig looked at Sumo, eager to try. Obviously, it wanted to go out for a spin. In the past, before it met Sumo, the little white pig roamed freely within a 1,000-mile radius of the Executioner Heart Cliff, wandering around day and night. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been targeted by the hunting cultivators of a Selectan sect. Now that it served Sumo as its master, it was naturally under a lot of restrictions. I'll give you 2 hours. Don't go near the Siyin Mountain Villa, and don't play too much, Sumo said to the little white pig sternly, as if she was instructing a child. Thumph. The little white pig widened its eyes and nodded its head in an obedient, adorable, and excited manner. Then, it disappeared in a flash of white light. Sumo looked in the direction in which the little white pig disappeared and smiled wryly. The appearance of the 5 elements divine vermilion bird and the eastern tribe made Sumo curious about everything in the soul storage altar cave abode. At the same time, Sumo recalled the 7, 7, 4, 9 steps in his mind. That was definitely a supreme and wondrous technique. However, the current Sumo couldn't freely control it. He only had the form, but no mental cultivation method. Therefore, he didn't know where he would end up with his next step. He still didn't know the profoundness of the footwork. Sumo took out the dust Siv Sutra again. It was still empty. All of these were secrets that Sumo couldn't see through. He sighed. Sumo decided that the matter with Yi Wu Hui was over. After reaching the undead realm, he would no longer roam the chaotic gods continent. He wouldn't be able to find Guan Xiong anyway. He decided to go to the soul storage altar cave abode again. Perhaps there were secrets that he hadn't discovered in the past there that would be helpful for his cultivation. Sumo made up his mind. He cultivated as he waited for Yi Wu Hui. However, Sumo waited for a full 7 days, but there was no news from Yi Wu Hui. Chapter 291. 7 days. Sumo had waited long enough. According to Yi Wu Hui's cultivation, 7 days was enough for her to come here from anywhere in the chaotic gods' mainland, unless she didn't want to come or couldn't come. However, Yi Wu Hui didn't show up. There was no news at all. Therefore, Sumo had a bad feeling in her heart. Yi Wu Hui might be in trouble. In theory, if he could come, Yi Wu Hui wouldn't have shown up for so long. Sumo believed that the 3-inch puppet was definitely what Yi Wu Hui wanted. After they were separated, Yi Wu Hui should have thought of waiting at the place where they parted. This was almost common sense. However, Yi Wu Hui didn't come. At the same time, on the 7th day, Sumo felt a faint numbness in her left shoulder. At first, Sumo didn't care and thought it was because of her cultivation. However, after 4 hours, the numbness didn't go away. Instead, it became more and more serious. Sumo's heart sank, because that was the place where she had been scratched by Dongfang Mu's bloody claw. Unbuttoning her clothes, Sumo frowned. There was a clear claw mark on her left shoulder. The claw mark was red and black. It was clearly poisonous. At the same time, Sumo also felt a little dizzy. Sumo had been careless. Sumo thought that the injury was not a problem at all. In fact, thinking about it, how could Dongfang Mu's Taoist skill be so simple? However, Sumo didn't expect that the poison of the claw would stay dormant for 7 days before it began to take effect. However, Sumo wasn't nervous. After all, she had the third senior brother's medical skills. Sumo took out 3 silver needles from her storage pouch. Sizzle. Sumo flicked her fingers, and the 3 silver needles were inserted into the acupuncture points on her left shoulder in a triangular formation. They were 3 special silver needles. The middle was hollow, like a thin needle tube. Looking at the end of the 3 silver needles, black and purple blood gradually flowed out. When the blood landed on the blue stone was instantly scorched, leaving a scar. Huh, Sumo frowned. What a potent poison. If he hadn't cultivated the immortal bones, the poison would have seeped into his bone marrow. In less than a quarter of an hour, Sumo's 3 silver needles all turned black and purple. However, the claw marks on his shoulder did not disappear completely. Especially at the place where Sumo had inserted the needle, there were actually 3 black moles the size of mung beans. Sumo understood that although he used the silver needle technique to remove part of the poison, it also concentrated the poison and could not be removed. It wasn't a big problem for now, but he had accelerated the spread of the poison. In other words, Sumo had temporarily suppressed the toxicity, but once it flared up again, it would be difficult to control. Unfortunately, even with third brother's inheritance, Sumo couldn't completely neutralize the Dongfang clan's poison. Sumo then poured out a detoxification pill from the storage bottle and swallowed it. Although Sumo didn't know what kind of poison it was, he should be able to guarantee that he wouldn't have to worry about it for a month. Sumo let out a long sigh. Whoever started the trouble should untie it. The Dongfang clan's poison, of course, had to be solved by someone from the Dongfang clan. Thus, Sumo took out Dongfang Mu's storage bag, hoping to find an antidote or clues to detoxify it. It had to be said that Dongfang Mu's storage bag had a lot of good stuff. There were even a few spirit beasts hidden in a few secret bags. As for those spirit beasts, Sumo didn't stand on ceremony. He directly summoned the black feathered deity Hong and the dragon elephant soul devouring beast. He let the 2 of them eat heartily, one to devour souls, the other to eat meat. The spirit beasts in Dongfang Mu's storage bag were not low level. They were basically soul, transformation, and deity tribulation level spirit beasts. Sadly, they all became food for the black feathered deity Hong and the dragon elephant soul devouring beast. If this scene was seen by other spirit cultivators, they would immediately go crazy. It was a reckless waste of natural resources. However, Sumo had 2 divine beasts. He didn't need other spirit beasts at all. It would be a waste of spirit food. Who would have so many useless spirit beasts? Moreover, Sumo wasn't a spirit cultivator. There were a few undead-level treasures in the storage bag, as well as some pills and jade slips. Sumo felt that it was not bad. However, Sumo couldn't find a way to cure the poison on his shoulder. It seemed that he had to return to Dongyin County. Otherwise, this poison would be a problem sooner or later. However, how could it be easy to enter the tiger's den? Sumo understood that he was an early deity tribulation level cultivator, and it would be like throwing an egg against a rock if you wanted to fight the Dongfang clan head-on. If only Yi Wuhui was here. An immortal, all of them were instantly killed. What a pity! I wonder what happened to Yi Wuhui. Sumo frowned slightly. Is there anything on the chaotic gods continent that Yi Wuhui can't solve? Yi Wuhui was a peak sempiternal level cultivator. Then, Sumo suddenly remembered the undead puppet that Yi Wuhui gave him. He had been waiting for Yi Wuhui for the past few days, so Sumo forgot to take it out. Thinking of this, Sumo took out the storage bag that Yi Wuhui gave him. The storage bag opened, and with a flash of purple light, a puppet flew out. It was wearing a purple robe and a purple hat. Sumo was slightly stunned, because he felt that the aura of this puppet was extremely familiar. Looking again, the purple robe puppet dropped its hat, and then it knelt on one knee in front of Sumo. Gue Ying pays his respects to Master. The puppet knelt on the ground, and its voice was hoarse and unnatural. It seemed that the puppet only knew that sentence. Sumo took a look at its appearance and found that it actually bore a 90% resemblance to Yi Wu Hui. If it was someone who was not familiar with Yi Wu Hui, they would most likely think that it was Yi Wu Hui. Guiying. Isn't Guiying one of Yi Wu Hui's 3 shadow puppets? Why is it here? Sumo asked inwardly. At this moment, the body of Guiying suddenly emitted a blue light. Yi Wu Hui's voice sounded. It was a voice transmission. Sumo, this puppet is for you. I have reconstructed Guiying into a tangible body, and its realm is undead realm. Guiying will accompany you. I wish you peace. The last 8 words, Yi Wu Hui's voice sounded a little faint. It seemed that this was a voice transmission that Yi Wu Hui had prepared beforehand. Although she did not expect that she and Sumo would suddenly separate, judging from the tone of the voice transmission, she was also prepared to leave Sumo. Undead realm, full realm. With such a puppet, combined with the illusionary soul puppet technique that Yi Wu Hui had given her, Sumo could deal with it if she did not encounter a very special undead realm cultivator. In this sense, although Yi Wu Hui had not given Sumo a chance to enter the undead realm, he had already made Sumo's combat power reach the undead realm. Sumo looked at the Guiying with a somewhat complicated mood. This puppet really looked like Yi Wu Hui. Guiying will accompany you. I wish you peace. There seemed to be too much helplessness and disappointment in Yi Wu Hui's words. However, Sumo did not want to grasp those ethereal emotions. Yi Wu Hui, thank you. Sumo sighed, then took out the 3-inch puppet from the ragged bag and looked at it. I will definitely send this 3-inch puppet to you. But before that, Sumo had to return to Dongyin Prefecture to find her own antidote. Otherwise, once the poison took effect, Sumo could not guarantee that she could control it. After putting away the storm tent, Sumo slightly tidied up. Then, he left a divine sense and communication jade slip in this valley. This way, if Yi Wu Hui came here as long as he had not left the chaotic gods continent, he should be able to contact him. Chapter 292. The mountains of western Liang stretched for thousands of miles. Sumo was driving the Skywheel flying ship, heading straight for the eastern Yin County. At the same time, 2 cultivators were also flying toward the mountains of western Liang on their swords. In the beginning, the 2 sides were relatively far away, and no one seemed to notice them. There were countless cultivators on the chaotic gods continent. It was normal for cultivators to fly freely in the sky. However, Sumo's heart suddenly tightened, because he sensed that the 2 cultivators were heading straight for him. They were obviously coming for him. Sumo raised his eyebrows slightly. He had never been to any other place in western Liang except Siyin Villa. Moreover, he still looked like a middle-aged cultivator. Why would there be cultivators heading straight for him? Moreover, there was a hint of killing intent in their aura. After a while, the 2 cultivators were already standing 10 feet away from Sumo. This distance was extremely close for cultivators. The 2 late-stage deity tribulation cultivators were both middle-aged male cultivators. One of them was wearing a gray robe, and his face was slightly pale. The other was wearing a green robe, and his face was slightly dark. Sumo stood on the flying ship, and he couldn't help but think. It seems that they didn't come with good intentions. Fellow cultivator, please wait, the gray-robed male cultivator said to Sumo. In fact, Sumo didn't need them to say that, because he had already stopped the flying ship. Otherwise, the 3 of them would have bumped into each other. Seniors, what can I do for you? Sumo slightly cupped his hands. At this moment, Sumo seemed to be in the mid-stage soul transformation realm, so he was very polite. The gray-robed deity tribulation cultivator who spoke just now looked at Sumo and couldn't help but sneer. You are Guan Xiong, huh? When Sumo heard this, he could not help but be slightly stunned. Guan Xiong? Of course, Sumo understood why he asked that, because when he reported to Moze that day, he had used Guan Xiong's name. However, he had used a different appearance both times. He didn't believe that 2 late-stage deity tribulation experts could see through his disguise. Seniors, I'm afraid you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm Zhao Yunqing, Sumo muttered in her heart, but her expression was calm. She casually said the name Zhao Yunqing. In any case, there were plenty of names of disciples from Five Wheels. Zhao Yunqing? The gray-robed cultivator frowned slightly. Next to him, the green-robed god Tribulation sneered and said, "It's not up to you to decide who you are. It has the final say." Hearing this, Sumo was puzzled. Who had the final say? He was extremely confident in his seventh senior sister's inheritance. If he used his spirit tribulation body to cast spells, even an undead realm cultivator would never be able to see through him. What method did the other party have to force him to reveal his true body? Looking again, the green-robed deity tribulation cultivator suddenly waved his hand. Chi-Chi, a small green snake that was about a foot long and as thick as a thumb, flew out of his green sleeve. At the same time, it unexpectedly had a pair of transparent wings. The green snake spat out its tongue and its eyes shone. As soon as it appeared, it went straight to Sumo. Sumo was stunned. However, he immediately recognized this snake, Sky Bamboo. Although the small snake was only a foot long and as thick as a thumb, a drop of its venom could kill a deity tribulation realm cultivator. It was the king of poisonous snakes, an extremely special spirit beast. However, this Sky Bamboo was rarely used by cultivators to attack head-on, because, although the venom of the Sky Bamboo was powerful, its physical attack was almost equal to zero. If it was attacked head-on, it might not even be able to hurt a Foundation Establishment cultivator. A single flying sword would be able to cut it down. However, at this time, the green-robed cultivator brought out this small snake as if he had brought out a flying sword. It seemed that this snake had been abandoned by the green-robed cultivator. Looking at the small snake again, it did not directly attack Sumo's neck or other places, but flew straight to Sumo's left shoulder. Sumo was stunned, but at the same time, he instantly understood. Her disguise technique was definitely not seen through. However, Dongfang Mu must have left a mark on his body. Sumo did not expect that Dongfang Mu's final claw was so powerful. Not only was it highly poisonous, but it also left a clue for the Dongfang clan. It seemed that the other party brought out this small snake to verify her identity. As long as the Sky Bamboo attacked her left shoulder, she would naturally be Guan Xiong. Sure enough, seeing the small snake go straight to Sumo's left shoulder, the two cultivators did not say anything and directly attacked. The middle-aged cultivator in front of them was Guan Xiong, who killed Dongfang Mu. There was no doubt about this. Whoosh! When two late-stage deity tribulation realm experts used their techniques at the same time, their momentum was extraordinary. The entire void was full of energy and spiritual power fluctuations. In fact, they did not come to chase after the so-called Guan Xiong. On the contrary, they were ordered to kill Sumo. It turned out that these two were cultivators sent by Dongfang Hongran, the ninth princess of the Dongfang clan. Because at that time in Nanyue Prefecture, Sumo told Dongfang Hongran that if she wanted to take revenge, she should go to Western Liang's Cloud Mountain Manor. Dongfang Hongran remembered this sentence and quickly mobilized the deity tribulation realm experts of the clan. However, these two cultivators who came under orders did not find the Cloud Mountain Manor at all. At this time, they happened to receive a kill order about Guan Xiong from the clan. What happened in Ink Marsh had now spread throughout the Undying Country. Daring to kill the deity tribulation realm experts of the Dongfang clan, Guan Xiong was already on the Undying Country's kill list. However, Sumo stayed in the western Liang Mountains for 7 days. She still did not know that now the whole Undying Country was chasing after a cultivator named Guan Xiong. Originally, the Dongfang clan did not have many clues. On that day, the other cultivators in Ink Marsh could only describe Sumo's appearance and name. Therefore, the Dongfang clan did not find anything. However, today the Dongfang clan suddenly sensed the imprint that Dongfang Mu left on Sumo before he died. In fact, Dongfang Mu's last technique was called Soul Blood Poison Claw. It was a unique technique of the Dongfang clan. To practice this technique, one must have at least 3 kinds of poison in one's danci. Then, as one cultivates, these 3 kinds of poison will fuse into one's blood. Under normal circumstances, cultivators can directly use this technique to hurt people with their claws. However, when Dongfang Mu was tied up by the dragon binding rope, he could only spit out his soul blood and turn it into a sharp claw. That time, he injured Sumo, but at the same time, he left behind a trace of Dongfang Mu's soul energy. Therefore, that day Dongfang Mu said that Sumo could not leave the Undying Country, because he knew that the Dongfang clan's expert would definitely catch Sumo. And Sumo definitely did not have the ability to fight against the Dongfang clan. Oh no! At this time, Sumo also secretly thought he had the Dongfang clan's imprint on his body. Didn't that mean that the Dongfang clan's expert would soon arrive? These 2 late-stage deity tribulation cultivators were only the vanguard. Sumo was right. Because these 2 deity tribulations were the closest, they arrived first. And in the Dongfang clan, the 3 Undying Realm experts who were really in charge of hunting Guanxiong had already received the news and were rushing over from Dongying Prefecture. Kill! Sumo understood the situation and directly patted her storage pouch. The 3 puppets, Mu Wang, Life and Death Man, and Tao Yao, directly flew out and went straight to the 2 deity tribulations. At the same time, Sumo released the Black Feathered God Hong, in case the other side used spirit beasts. This battle, he wanted to finish it quickly and then immediately escape. Chapter 293. Hu Wu. The 2 divine tribulations cast their own Dharma spells. However, they never expected Sumo to summon such powerful puppets and spiritual beasts in an instant. Divine Tribulation Puppet, Black Feather Deity Hong. Dongfang Mu was killed, but these 2 deity tribulations did not know the details of the process. However, they expected that 2 late-stage deity tribulation experts would be able to deal with 1 early-stage deity tribulation expert. Because of their cultivation level, they didn't think about it carefully. How did Dongfang Mu die? However, as soon as Sumo made her move, they were shocked. Originally, the pressure released by the 2 deity tribulation realm cultivators completely trapped Sumo. However, the 3 puppets and the great god beast managed to disperse their pressure. Among them, 2 puppets mainly attacked the gray-robed deity tribulation. King Mu rode on his sword while Tao Yao cast a spell. King Mu's sword was glowing with blue light. It was obviously not an ordinary sword. Tao Yao's technique was actually the art of controlling fire. The blue flame sword, and it was filled with divine might. The other puppet, the Life and Death Man, waved the black and white flag in its hand, sweeping up rays of gray light as it charged toward the azure-robed deity. The moment Black Feather God Hong appeared, he first ate the little snake, Tian Zhuqing, and then attacked the green-clothed God Tribulation. Originally, the 2 late-stage Divine Tribulation experts could have crushed Sumo. However, in an instant, not only did Sumo close the gap, but she even gained the upper hand. Just like Dongfang Mu, these 2 Divine Tribulations were not fully prepared. Because they originally came to kill Sumo, who humiliated Dongfang Hongran, not to deal with Guanxiong, who killed Dongfang Mu. However, Dongfang Hongran only said that Sumo was an early-stage deity tribulation expert who possessed a dragon elephant soul devouring beast. Therefore, they did not take this matter seriously at all. They didn't know that Sumo and Guanxiongbin were the same person. In fact, with Sumo's current combat power, even if he didn't use the Undying Puppet, he would at least need to be at the early stage of the Undying Realm to suppress him. Divine Tribulation Realm cultivators were no match for Sumo, not even 2 of them. Everything that Sumo possessed was enough to bridge this gap. The 2 puppets, Mu Wang and Tao Yao, had unique cultivation techniques. The black and white banners of life and death fluttered up and down, emitting wisps of gray chi. Sumo did not know the true origins of these 3 puppets. Sumo had never seen the various spells that they had brought with them. In fact, if Sumo knew any of the 3 puppets' origins, she would be extremely shocked. Any one of them could easily sweep through the chaotic god's continent without breaking a sweat. As for the three puppets in front of him, they were at most inferior replicas. They were not soulless Taoist at all. However, even so, the two deities' tribulations from the Eastern world were not used to it. That was because many of their spells were completely useless against the three puppets. They had spirit beasts in their storage pouches, but because of the presence of the black feather deity, they did not use them. Battle puppets existed for battle in the first place. A puppet that could fight against the deity tribulation. This was also the first time the Dongfang family's two deities' tribulations had encountered such a powerful puppet. They couldn't even think of anyone on the chaotic gods' mainland who had the ability to create such a powerful puppet. Heavenly Corpse sect? At that thought, the two deities' tribulations gasped inwardly. If this Guanxiong was from the Heavenly Corpse sect, then it would be troublesome. The Heavenly Corpse sect was definitely a colossus that even the Dongfang family would not dare to offend. Hopefully, that was only their guess. It would be very difficult for the two deities' tribulations to defeat Sumo. Sumo's puppets and spirit beasts were too powerful. However, Sumo could not kill the two deities' tribulations with just the puppets and the black feather deity. His spells might not be strong enough for offense, but they were more than enough for defense. For a moment, the dark light in the air collapsed and whistled. Meanwhile, Sumo was very anxious. He had to get rid of the two deities' tribulations as soon as possible, or they would be fatal to him. After all, the undying cultivator of the Dongfang family might appear in the next moment. Therefore, Sumo narrowed his eyes and patted his storage pouch again. He still had a treasure. Whoosh! The two golden lights with a divine dragon binding rope. The divine dragon binding rope was a treasure of Jiuyo City. In the end, Dongfang Mu had been destroyed by this treasure. Sumo used the same trick again. Meanwhile, the two deities' tribulations from the Dongfang family were focused on the puppets and the black feather deity. When they saw the golden lights flying toward them, the gray-robed cultivator summoned a flying sword, while the green-robed cultivator tossed out a flying rock. They only hoped that they could block Sumo's magic treasure. The flying sword and rock expanded in the wind. However, they could not stop the divine dragon binding rope. Like a spirit snake, the rope dodged the flying sword and rock and went straight for the two deities' tribulations. The two deities' treasures also went straight for Sumo. Sumo was prepared. He swung the bamboo pole in his hand and swept it to the left and to the right. Whoosh! Boom! Boom! Crack! The flying sword was knocked away by the bamboo pole, and the rock that had expanded to the size of a millstone was shattered by Sumo's bamboo pole. The two deities' tribulations were shocked. How could Sumo's bamboo pole be so powerful? It should be noted that they had just used a high-level deity's tribulation treasure. How could it be knocked away and even shattered by an early-stage deity's tribulation cultivator? What level was that bamboo pole at? Sizzle. While the two deities' tribulations were still in a daze, the divine dragon-binding rope tied them up. This time, Sumo did not give them any chance. King Mu's sword pierced the immortal heart of one of the gray-robed deities. The head of the green-robed deity was torn off by the black feather deity. It could be said that these two cultivators had died a dubious death. 15 minutes ago, they had been complacent, thinking that their chance to make a contribution had come. Now, Sumo raised her hand and released the little white pig. Just like before, the dragon-elephant soul-devouring beast devoured the souls. The black feather deity devoured the flesh, and Sumo put away the two deities' tribulations bags of holding. The three puppets stood woodenly at the side. If they had intelligence, they would have exclaimed, "This person, this pig, and this bird have a clear division of labor, and they are very skilled. How many people have they killed and robbed?" At this moment, Sumo packed up everything, including the puppets and the spirit beasts. This time, Sumo could not use the skywheel flying ship anymore, because it was too slow. Then, Sumo took out a jade slip. It was a jade slip that could connect to the teleportation array in the Wangdu city. At this moment, Sumo felt that it was more important to leave the kingdom of the undying. As for the poison in his body, there was still half a month left. Now that he had the mark of the Dongfang family on him, he would not dare to go deep into the Dongying prefecture. Otherwise, he would be courting death, unless Yi Wuhui was by his side at this moment. However, he only had a ghost shadow now, and it was impossible for him to fight the Dongfang family head-on. Therefore, leaving was the best option. However, just as Sumo took out the jade slip and was about to activate the teleportation array, there was a fluctuation of spiritual chi in the void, and 3 cultivators stepped out. The immortal chi covered everything in an instant. Sumo's body was slightly sluggish. Guanxiong, where are you going? No one can leave the kingdom of the undying alive after killing the people of the Dongfang family. 2 men and 1 woman, the 3 immortal cultivators of the Dongfang family, directly locked the void. Sumo's face changed. He could no longer use the teleportation array to escape. The god of death had come again. Chapter 294. The Dongfang clan had 3 undying realm experts. In an instant, they formed a triangular formation. 2 men and a woman. The 2 male cultivators were at the early stage of undead realm, while the female cultivator was at the middle stage of undead realm. Such a lineup could be said to be powerful. At this moment, they each released their own auras. The pressure of the divine tribulation was completely ineffective against Sumo. However, the undying pressure was completely different. These 3 cultivators had come here specifically to kill Sumo. They already knew the details of the battle with Moze. The cultivator who killed Dongfang Mu had He Yushinhong with him. He was an expert in the art of puppetry and had outstanding battle prowess. On that day, Guanxiong almost single-handedly slaughtered all the cultivators above the soul transformation realm in the eastern Yin County. Yin Fengyun of the Red Snow Country was ignored by them. Therefore, the 3 undead realm experts had made sufficient preparations. They were the absolute top experts of the Dongfang clan. Dongfang Mu's death shook the clan, because such a thing had not happened for at least 10,000 years. The more elite they were, the more cautious they were. Even in the face of a deity tribulation, these 3 undead realm experts would go all out to ensure that nothing went wrong. Therefore, the moment they saw Sumo, the 3 undead realm experts each took up a position and blocked all the escape routes. Sumo couldn't escape even if she had wings. Facing these 3 cultivators, Sumo once again felt the same feeling she had when she stood outside Xiyin Villa and faced Granny Qingyi and the other puppets. Although these 3 undead realm puppets were not as powerful as the puppets in the Xiyin Manor, the oppressive feeling they gave off was very similar. Guanxiong, you actually know the legendary 1,000 Faces technique? Why don't you show your true appearance? At this time, one of the 3 female cultivators in the undead realm looked at Sumo with a sneer. That female cultivator was wearing a light yellow dress. Her appearance was extremely beautiful, but her eyebrows were raised, revealing a bit of sharp, killing intent. At this moment, Sumo's situation was like a fish in a pot. It was almost impossible for him to escape. Therefore, Sumo gradually relaxed. Either fight to the death, or die fighting to the death. After all, Sumo still had a puppet at the undead Great Circle. He might not be able to fight 1 against 3, but he could still put up a fight. Of course, Sumo still had a life-saving method, and that was that strange footwork. However, Sumo couldn't guarantee that she could rely on it to escape every time. Without much choice, Sumo was rather calm. With a thought, Sumo's true appearance appeared. After all, using the 1,000 Faces technique also consumed magic power. If there was a great battle, it would be better to show one's true face. The 3 cultivators looked at each other with a strange look in their eyes. The 1,000 Faces technique was a legendary disguise technique. That female cultivator was just guessing, and she wasn't sure. This was because the image in their jade slips was that of a young man, not a middle-aged man. However, Sumo's true appearance was different from the one in their jade slips. This meant that Sumo's 1,000 Faces technique had already reached the point of perfection, and she could do as she pleased. The 1,000 Faces technique is indeed powerful. The yellow-robed female cultivator looked at Sumo, Unfortunately, it can't save you. Kill. The yellow-robed female cultivator didn't say anything else. This was the power of these 3 undead realm cultivators. They came to kill Guan Xiong, and after confirming his identity, they didn't say anything else. Moreover, Sumo had just killed 2 deity tribulation cultivators of the Dongfang family. As for the things on Sumo's body, they would naturally get them after killing Sumo. A long night is fraught with dreams. Whoosh! The 3 undead realm cultivators went straight to Sumo from different directions. 3 undead realm cultivators working together to deal with 1 deity tribulation cultivator. This in itself was unreasonable. This was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife and 3 butcher's knives. However, the 3 undead realm cultivators didn't want reason, but Sumo's life. Such momentum was extremely terrifying. At that moment, Sumo even felt that their aura surpassed that of Granny Qingya. It was like a mortal seriously trying to pinch an ant to death. The key was not the comparison of strength, but the opponent's seriousness when there was a great disparity in strength. That was the most terrifying. Whoosh! Among the 3 undead realm cultivators of the Dongfang family, one of the male cultivators shook his hand and directly took out a flying sword. The flying sword was thin and long, dazzling and threatening. The sword went straight for Sumo's throat. The other male cultivator didn't use a magic treasure, but formed a seal with both hands. He suddenly separated his hands. Whoosh! Looking again, a red profound light suddenly flew out between his hands. The red profound light instantly turned into the shape of a dragon and directly wrapped around Sumo's upper body. Finally, the yellow-clothed female cultivator didn't use a magic treasure, but stretched out her right hand and pointed down with her index and middle finger. In an instant, with her as the center, waves of spiritual energy spread out in the void. It was a kind of indiscriminate attack technique. As long as Sumo fell into her waves, there was no way to escape. 3 undead realm cultivators, 3 different attack methods. The undead chi filled the entire void. In fact, with Sumo's realm, any kind of attack could kill Sumo, let alone 3 at the same time. At this time, Sumo was already holding the red dust ancient fan in his hand. At the same time, with a move of his mind, the ragged bag directly flew out. Keep! Sumo shouted softly. The flying sword that arrived first fell into the ragged bag. At that moment, Sumo's heart calmed down. After all, the ragged bag seemed to contain a myriad of treasures. The undead realm cultivator, whose immortal sword was taken, was slightly stunned, but he didn't panic too much. Although Sumo kept the immortal sword, there were still 2 attacks. With another move of his mind, Sumo didn't hesitate and directly released the ghostly shadow puppet, because he was afraid that he wouldn't have a chance to release the ghostly shadow. As soon as the ghostly shadow appeared, it went straight to the yellow-clothed female cultivator. The puppet given by Yi Wuhui didn't need Sumo to control it. The ghostly shadow was equivalent to Sumo's bodyguard at the undead realm. As soon as the ghostly shadow appeared, the yellow-clothed female cultivator's face slightly changed. She knew that Sumo had a puppet, but she didn't expect it to be a puppet at the undead realm. At that moment, she almost thought that it was a cultivator at the undead realm. If that was the case, the 3 of them would definitely not be its opponent. Fortunately, it was a puppet. However, the ghostly shadow's body gently fell, stepping on the water wave. Whoosh! Chi-chi! As soon as the ghostly shadow's body fell, the water wave instantly turned into blue smoke. The smoke curled up and dissipated directly. Humph! The yellow-clothed female cultivator coldly snorted. Immediately, she hurriedly retreated, her hands quickly forming seals. If she had to fight against a puppet at the undead realm, the odds of her winning were not big. However, she was a first-class expert of the Dongfang clan. How could she not have a foundation? The yellow-clothed female cultivator understood that as long as she entangled the puppet for a moment, Sumo would be killed by her other 2 companions. What's more, she still had the powerful ancient secret method of the Dongfang clan. Summon, Ghost General. The yellow-clothed female cultivator softly shouted. Looking again, a black pool instantly appeared in front of her. Inside the black pool, ripples slightly dispersed, and a black mist rose. And in the black mist, a figure gradually appeared. It was more than 10 feet tall, wearing a ghost mask, black boots, armor, a cloak, and a long halberd. At that moment, Sumo suddenly froze. His soul trembled slightly. At this time, in the void, a white-clothed girl sitting on a purple lotus throne could not help but sigh faintly. Ghost General 33? The Star River world was destroyed, and someone from the Dongfang clan really survived. Chapter 295. Summoning a Ghost General. This was an extremely ancient secret technique of the Dongfang clan. Only the top cultivators of the clan could practice this secret technique, because it required at least the cultivation of the undead middle stage. Whoosh! The Ghost General was incomparably brave, waving the halberd in its hand to resist the ghost shadow. The Ghost General summoned by the yellow-robed female cultivator also seemed to be at the peak of the undead realm. At this time, Sumo was in imminent danger. Whoosh! The ancient mortal fan in his hand spread out, creating a whirlwind that swept away the fire dragon summoned by the other male cultivator. The ancient mortal fan did not disappoint Sumo. The whirlwind rolled up and broke the spell of the undead realm cultivator. Ragged Bag, ancient mortal fan, if not for these two magical weapons, Sumo would have already been finished. Really powerful. No wonder he could kill Dongfang Mu. The two male cultivators of the Dongfang clan secretly said. However, they were all confident and had a lot of tricks up their sleeves. The male cultivator who lost his flying sword smirked, flicked his hand, and threw out a bead. The bead was as bright as a red cloud, flashing with red light, and went straight to Sumo. Sumo frowned. The bead seemed a bit special, but in that instant, Sumo could not make a better response. Collect. Sumo used the same trick, wanting to use the ragged bag to collect it. The bead went straight to the ragged bag. However, when it was less than 3 feet away from the mouth of the ragged bag, the red light suddenly brightened. Boom! The red cloud bead suddenly exploded. In an instant, the sky was filled with fire, covering the void. At the same time, the impact of the explosion caused Sumo's body to tremble. Fortunately, just now, Sumo felt that something was wrong. He had already consciously retreated. Even so, this caused Sumo to be greatly affected. Fortunately, his undying bone had reached the great accomplishment. Otherwise, he would have been injured. However, the ragged bag must not be collected by the sea of fire. Instead, it might be swallowed by the sea of fire. Sumo's mind moved. He could only put the bag back. However, at this moment, another cultivator's magical weapon arrived. It was a meteor hammer. Whoosh! Amidst the sea of fire, he was welcomed head-on. It carried the might of undying, its speed inconceivably fast. It was too late for Sumo to dodge. At the critical moment, a purple light flashed in the storage bag. The 64 skeleton stood in front of Sumo, blocking his way. Boom! Crack! The meteor hammer smashed into the skeleton's body. The undying power on it instantly dispersed. Red light and white light filled the sky. The skeletons in Silent Death Valley had an extraordinary origin, but when they were struck by the undying cultivator's meteor hammer, they were sent flying. Sumo even heard the sound of bones breaking. This was something that had never happened before. The purple-clothed skeleton blocked the attack for Sumo, but the skeleton flew back and smashed toward Sumo. At that moment, Sumo remembered the magical steps. Then, he consciously leapt to the left in an attempt to escape. However, there was no change in space-time at all. In an instant, Sumo's heart turned cold. The miracle didn't happen. Then, he was directly hit by the skeleton, and both he and the skeleton were sent flying in the air. The moment Sumo was sent flying, golden and black lights flew out from his storage bag. Behind the 3 golden skeletons was Black Feather Deity Lake. The 3 golden skeletons blocked in front of Sumo. Black Feather Shunhong spread his wings, and his body slightly swelled, emitting a faint red light. However, this time, Black Feather Shinhong didn't attack the other cultivators. Instead, he steadily caught the purple-clothed skeleton and Sumo. Bang! Wah! Sumo fell on Black Feather Shinhong's body. Her face instantly paled, and she coughed up blood. This kind of injury, Sumo hadn't suffered for a long time. The Undying Cultivator's undying magical weapon was too powerful. If the skeleton didn't block it, Sumo would have died without a doubt. Even so, Sumo's blood was boiling, unable to control itself. While Sumo was injured, the two deities from the Dongfang family didn't stop attacking. The two of them unleashed their spells and attacked Sumo fiercely. However, the three golden skeletons protected Sumo in the middle. The sea of fire and spiritual power couldn't enter at all. Sumo wanted a bit of breathing room. When the three golden skeletons appeared, the two undying cultivators couldn't help but look at each other. This was because they both felt a very special kind of aura. This kind of aura was very strange, something that didn't belong to the chaotic gods continent. Fortunately, they were undying. If it was a deity's tribulation, they probably wouldn't be able to resist this kind of aura. This Sumo was indeed not ordinary. How could he have so many puppets and skeletons on him? The corpse-less sect. These three words appeared in the minds of the two cultivators again. But at this time, in for a penny, in for a pound. Killing Sumo was the best choice. Whoosh! While the two cultivators were thinking, the yellow-clothed female cultivator attacked again. It wasn't a secret that Sumo had the black feather deity. Therefore, they were prepared to hunt down Sumo. At this time, the yellow-clothed female cultivator stood in the void, a large black bough in her hand. Her dress fluttered in the wind as she pulled the bough into a full moon. The yellow-clothed female raised an eyebrow and shouted, "Drop!" She drew the bow and released the arrow. It was a black arrow, 3 feet long, with a black light swirling around it. The moment the arrow was released, the void seemed to be torn apart. The sea of fire and spiritual light parted like a tide. Heaven-splitting arrow, a deity burying divine weapon. The two male cultivators were taken aback. Dongfang Haoyue had brought the Dongfang family's cornerstone treasure. This arrow was definitely capable of taking Sumo's life. Forget about Sumo. Even a deity-burying cultivator wouldn't dare take the heaven-splitting arrow head-on. Originally, Dongfang Haoyue wanted to use this arrow to kill the black feather deity. But now that Sumo was on the black feather deity, it was a good opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. At the same time, Sumo was injured. His Dan Si was churning, but his undying chi could still be controlled. But suddenly, he felt a numbing sensation in his left shoulder. Sumo didn't expect the poison he was controlling to suddenly spread at this time. In an instant, he lost all feeling in his left arm. Not good. Sumo was well-versed in medicine and knew the situation was about to worsen. Although he could sense the power of the heaven-splitting arrow, he didn't have many tricks up his sleeve. He couldn't dodge that arrow, and neither could the black feather deity. The distance was too close. More importantly, the heaven-splitting arrow carried the pressure of a deity burying deity. Not to mention that Sumo was a deity tribulation cultivator. Even an undying cultivator would have to wait for death in front of a deity burying deity. It was an absolute gap between levels. Hum hum hum, hum hum. The three white skeletons couldn't stand steadily. This was almost exactly the same as the situation outside Siyin Manor. The golden skeletons weren't ordinary, but they themselves couldn't withstand a deity-burying attack. Sumo held the ancient mortal fan and tried to keep the golden skeletons in front of him. However, they were still a bit uncontrollable. The pressure of a deity burying deity was too great. Boom! ZZT. The most terrifying thing was that the heaven-splitting arrow pierced through one of the skeletons. The other two were blasted away by the airflow. The heaven-splitting arrow was less than 6 feet away from Sumo. In that instant, the black feather deity's body emitted a red glow. It was a berserk state. Back then, when the red-clothed Mu Jinghong was fighting, the black feather deity had been in such a state. The black-feathered deity let out a mournful cry that pierced through the clouds. He wanted to take Sumo away, but that was impossible. The heaven-splitting arrow was within 3 feet of him. The red light emitted by the black-feathered deity was broken through by the arrow. Sumo couldn't feel the left half of his body, while the right half was in excruciating pain. He couldn't even form hand seals at this time. Whoa! The arrow hadn't arrived, but Sumo already couldn't withstand its aura. Fortunately, this was Sumo. Any other deity would have perished long ago. Even so, whoa. Under the pressure, Sumo vomited blood, his face as pale as paper. He couldn't control anything at all. Sumo had to die, because the heaven-splitting arrow was already 3 feet in front of him. A deity-bearing weapon. This distance could announce Sumo's death. However, at this moment, a purple light suddenly appeared in front of Sumo's chest. In the purple light, a lotus petal shone brightly. Chapter 296. The purple lotus petal was mysterious and illusory. Its radiance illuminated the world. The heaven-splitting arrow was a soul burial realm divine weapon. However, the black arrow was blocked by the tiny lotus petal 3 feet in front of Sumo. The black radiance scattered and the heaven-splitting arrow buzzed. However, it couldn't pierce through the exquisite lotus petal. Sumo was half kneeling on the black feather god's back, his face pale. His injuries weren't light, and the poison was acting up. If someone wanted to kill Sumo at this time, it would be extremely easy. However, Sumo was still conscious. He knew that someone had saved him. The purple lotus petal covered everything. At that moment, Gue Ying and Gue Jiang separated to either side of Sumo and Dongfang Haoyue. The 2 deity tribulation cultivators from the Dongfang family were also stunned. A soul burial realm divine weapon was blocked. Dongfang Haoyue gripped the heaven-splitting bow and frowned. "Who is it?" she shouted into the air. Although she didn't see anyone, she knew that a mysterious lotus petal couldn't have appeared out of nowhere. A woman's cold laugh echoed in the air. Looking again, a white-clothed girl gradually materialized next to Sumo. The girl's features were elegant and her eyes were lively. Sumo's heart shook when she saw her clearly. The white-clothed girl was the mysterious young Miss Miao who had taken Guan Xiong away. How did she meet her? Where was Guan Xiong? Sumo had many questions, but she naturally wouldn't ask them now. Regardless, this Miao Long was definitely much closer than the Dongfang family. A soul burial realm cultivator? Dongfang Haoyue's heart shook. However, she didn't dare to confirm the white-clothed girl's cultivation. However, the white-clothed girl had definitely left the red dust realm and entered the sempiternal realm. In other words, the white-clothed girl was at least at the soul burial realm. In theory, soul burial realm cultivators were the peak existences on the chaotic gods continent. The Dongfang family's ancestor, who rarely interfered with worldly affairs, was at the soul burial realm. Dongfang Haoyue understood what it meant for a soul burial realm cultivator to stand here. Dongfang Haoyue greets Senior. Dongfang Haoyue didn't wait for Miao Long to speak and bowed. That was an absolute suppression of the realm. Dongfang Lin greets Senior. Dongfang's son greets Senior. The other 2 male cultivators also bowed in greeting. They all knew the severity of the situation. In an instant, it vanished into thin air. All the magic treasures of the Dongfang clan were quietly put away. In fact, the summoned ghost general was gradually disappearing. Miao Long sneered. The Dongfang family wants to kill Guan Xiong. Dongfang Haoyue frowned. Senior, there might be some misunderstanding. However, one of my Dongfang clan's disciples was indeed killed by Guan Xiong. That's why we're hunting him down. Guan Xiong killed your disciples? No wonder Guan Xiong was wanted by the entire Undying Kingdom. Miao Long snorted and glanced at Sumo. Of course, she knew that was impossible, because Guan Xiong was still in Heaven City. He hadn't left for more than 1,000 years. Guan Xiong wanted to come out and do evil, but he didn't have the chance. Miao Long understood that Sumo was using Guan Xiong's name. However, Miao Long didn't expose him, because none of these matters mattered. In Miao Long eyes, a member of the Dongfang clan wasn't as valuable as a dog in Heaven City. Guan Xiong is my servant. Miao Long looked at Dongfang Haoyue and the other two and said calmly. However, the meaning behind his words was obvious. Dongfang Haoyue was speechless. He thought to himself, "What's wrong with your servant? Can your servant kill people as he pleases?" However, if she were to act tough now, it was possible that none of them would be able to live. However, she couldn't show any weakness either. Otherwise, the Dongfang clan's reputation would be tarnished. A divine burial realm cultivator was certainly powerful. However, the Dongfang clan also had a divine burial realm cultivator. With Senior here, we wouldn't dare to act rashly. However, please leave your name. We will return to the clan immediately and report everything. We will ask the clan's ancestor to discuss with you on how to resolve this misunderstanding. Dongfang Haoyue's words were tactful. However, how could Miao Long not understand the meaning behind her words? However, Miao Longer didn't care. Hee, that's fine. I won't make things difficult for you. Miao Long smiled. However, I'm afraid that your Dongfang clan will be scared out of their wits if I tell you my name and origin. Oh, Junior thanks Senior for not killing me. Dongfang Haoyue bowed, then smiled. However, there's no one on the Chaos Gods continent that can scare the Dongfang clan to death. It had to be said that Dongfang Haoyue was indeed an extraordinary woman. Otherwise, most people would have responded in such a manner. Is that so? Hee. Miao Long wasn't angry at all. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me. When you return to the clan, tell the highest patriarch that my name is Miao Long. Miao Long? Dongfang Haoyue pondered, but she had never heard of this name before. There was no such cultivator on the Chaos Gods continent. Miao Long didn't care about Dongfang Haoyue's reaction. He continued, "If your ancestor hasn't heard of my name, why don't you tell me? Then tell them that I'm from the northern chill city of the chaotic gods, North region." Northern chill city? Dongfang Haoyue had never heard of it. Since when was there a place like this on the Chaos Gods continent? Disrupt the void of the northern god region? Northern chill city. Could it be that this city was in the void? Dongfang Haoyue was still confused. Your ancestor, if he has the guts, tell him to find me in the void of the northern domain. Guan Xiong will be there too. Miao Long smiled meaningfully. Junior understands. Dongfang Haoyue nodded and didn't say anything else. Miao Long glanced at Sumo, then turned to Dongfang Haoyue and said, "Antidote." Dongfang Haoyue didn't hesitate and took out a white jade bottle. 1 pill a day for 7 days. Miao Long took the white jade bottle and didn't even look at it. If the antidote is fake, I will flatten the Dongfang family. Miao Long's voice suddenly became cold, which made Dongfang Haoyue, Dongfang Lin, and Dongfang Sin shiver. An immortal realm cultivator wasn't someone they could resist. Then, they saw a purple cloud rising from Miao Long's feet. In an instant, a purple lotus platform appeared. However, this time, it expanded with the wind and became several zhang tall, supporting Dark Feather God Hong, Sumo, Ghost Shadow, and Golden Skeleton. It looked like a circular spaceship. One last question. Dongfang Huan's memorial tablet. Has the Dongfang family been worshipping it? I wonder who she reincarnated into. Ha ha! Miao Long said, and then waved his hand. Instantly, the purple cloud rose again. The lotus throne flew, broke the void, and disappeared. Just now, no matter what Miao Long said, Dongfang Haoyue was calm. However, Miao Long's last sentence made her expression change. Dongfang Huan? That was indeed the ancestor worshipped by the Dongfang family. However, that was the Dongfang family secret. In the Dongfang family, no one who hadn't reached the middle stage of Undying Realm knew about this. How did Miao Long know? Northern Chill City. Where was that? Who was Miao Long? Chapter 297. Chaotic God Void, Purple Lotus Platform. Miao Long flicked his hand, and through the white jade bottle that Dongfang Hao Yue had given him to Sumo, you heard how to use it, right? Sumo caught the white jade bottle, opened it with one hand, and sniffed it. Knowing that it was the antidote, he immediately swallowed it. At this moment, half of his body was in pain and numbness. If he was a little later, he might not even have the strength to open the bottle. After swallowing the antidote, Sumo struggled to sit cross-legged, as expected of the antidote. After a while, the numbness in Sumo's body was greatly relieved. Phew! Sumo opened his eyes and let out a long sigh. At the same time, he took out 2 healing pills from his bottle and swallowed them. After a while, Sumo felt much better. Although there were still poison and internal injuries, his life was no longer in danger. Thank you, Miss Meow, for saving my life. Sumo couldn't stand up, so he cupped his hands and bowed. Actually, according to their realms, Sumo should also call Miao Long Senior, but Sumo felt that it was more natural to call him Miss Meow. Miao Long looked at Sumo and sneered, Sumo, how dare you kill people in the name of Guan Xiong? Moreover, you killed people from the Dongfang family in the Undying Kingdom. Huh? Sumo smiled bitterly. Actually, I just said a random name at that time. I didn't expect to be called by someone else, so I didn't explain. However, it's also thanks to you that it was Guan Xiong. Miao Long said, otherwise, I'm afraid you'd be dead by now. Oh, Sumo was surprised. Miao Long looked at Sumo and said, if it wasn't for that, I accidentally heard that the so-called Guan Xiong was wanted by the Undead Kingdom, and I just happened to see the 3 undead realm experts of the Dongfang family saying that they were heading straight for Western Liang. Did you think I would save you? Sumo nodded with a bitter smile. It seemed that she really benefited from Guan Xiong this time. The reason why Miao Long to save him was most likely because of Guan Xiong. Sumo, collect all of your scraps. Miao Long glanced at the ghost shadow, the golden skeleton, and the others. Sumo grinned inwardly when she heard this. How could he call his treasures fragments? But Sumo had seen Guan Xiong's terrified and obedient appearance before Miao Long all those years ago, so she didn't dare argue. Thus, with a thought, he put away all the puppets and spirit beasts. As they were put away, the purple lotus platform shrunk to the size of an abbot, and its speed became even faster. Miss Meow, where are we going? At this moment, Sumo couldn't tell the direction at all. The purple lotus seat was extremely fast. Although Sumo also had a lotus seat, she had only used it once when crossing the heaven ditch. This purple lotus throne seemed to be a very ordinary transportation treasure for Miao Long. Head to the northern frosty city of the chaotic god realm. Miao Long said, Northern frosty city. Just now, Sumo heard the conversation between Miao Long, and Dongfang Hao Yue, but she had never heard of this place. In the jade slip that Guan Xiong gave her, this city didn't seem to be marked. However, since Northern Frosty City was in the Northern Frosty City, why didn't they use the teleportation array? Wouldn't it be too extravagant to use a flying treasure? Also, it would be too slow. Sumo muttered in her heart, but she didn't ask. Is Guan Xiong in Northern Frosty City? Sumo asked. Yes. Hee. Miao Long looked at Sumo and teased. That guy back then, he begged you to come and save him. You don't even know who saved him. Huh? Sumo's face was full of shame. Miao Long, it was right. But Guan Xiong didn't tell her that he was in some Northern Frosty City. That is Guan Xiong, all right? Sumo asked tentatively. Back then, you didn't do anything to him, right? Actually, Guan Xiong has always been very honest. Sumo still remembered that Miao Long wanted to kill Guan Xiong and Xiaonyao. Miao Long looked at Sumo coldly. If he waited for you to plead for him, he would have already reincarnated. Little Fatty is quite good. He eats and sleeps well, and he hasn't lost anything there. But he can't leave Northern Frosty City. If you go, you can accompany him to relieve his boredom. Huh? Okay. Sumo nodded in agreement. As he listened, he felt that Guan Xiong was under house arrest. However, he didn't dare to ask too much. Miao Long had always been indifferent and weird. He would talk about it when he saw Guan Xiong. In the void, the lotus platform was moving rapidly. In the beginning, Sumo felt that the lotus platform seemed to be flying or jumping in a very strange way. Jumping in space? Sumo didn't dare to imagine it. Later, Sumo really couldn't understand it, so he closed his eyes and meditated. After all, he was still injured. Regulating one's breathing was beneficial to one's injuries. Miao Long, was meditating on the side, not saying a word. After an unknown amount of time, Sumo guessed that it had been about 4 to 6 hours. He felt that the purple lotus platform was gradually slowing down. So, Sumo opened his eyes. At that moment, Sumo was stunned by everything in front of him. This was because a gigantic white city was floating in the void in front of him. It looked like a city carved out of ice and snow, crystal clear, magnificent and magnificent. Sea Mountain Villa was also floating in the valley, but compared to the city in front of him, it was simple and elegant, but it was not magnificent enough. Sumo estimated that this city of ice and snow couldn't be compared to the big cities on the continent, but it was at least 30 miles wide. The tallest castle in the city was a few hundred feet high. It should be noted that this was the void. It was shocking to see such a city of ice floating in the void. Sumo looked down instinctively. Unfortunately, even with his divine tribulation vision, he couldn't see through the layers of clouds. He didn't know where this city was in the void of the chaotic gods continent. He looked again and saw that the white city didn't have a gate. It was completely covered in a purple light, but there were 3 words shining on the purple light. Northern Chill City. Magnificent. Northern Chill City. Is this a divine city? Sumo pondered. Miaolong, I didn't care about Sumo's shocked expression, because Sumo's reaction was within her expectations. For a divine tribulation who hadn't seen much of the world like Sumo, it was already impressive that she could remain calm despite the surprise in her eyes. Miaolong-er's purple lotus platform passed through the protective array of the Northern Chill City without any hindrance and landed on an empty square. It was obvious that the array of the Northern Chill City could automatically identify visitors. Can you walk? Miaolong asked. No problem. Sumo stood up. Sumo couldn't use his Dharma power at the moment, but he could move freely. Miaolong nodded and waved his hand. The purple lotus platform disappeared, and the 2 of them landed on a platform inside the city. Even though the periphery of the city looked silver from afar, Sumo didn't feel cold when she landed inside the city. Instead, the entire city was warm and full of spirit chi. Standing inside the city, one wouldn't realize that it was floating in the void. The square was empty and there was no one around. At that moment, Sumo even wondered if it was an empty city. But Miaolong didn't say anything. Sumo, come with me. I'll let you see Guanxiong first. Okay, Sumo replied. Sumo could ask more questions when she saw Guanxiong. Chapter 298. Miaolong was in front and Sumo was behind. They went straight out of the square along the path. The Northern Chill City looked silvery white from the outside, but the inside of the city was not much different from an ordinary city. There were many colors, and the layout of the city was meticulously arranged. Along the way, they met 3 cultivators. As soon as they saw Miaolong, they stopped and bowed to her respectfully, calling her young lady. Miaolong nodded slightly and said nothing. Sumo took a quick look at those cultivators. They were all deity tribulation cultivators. There was only a 15 or 16-year-old boy who looked like he was at the mid-stage of the soul transformation realm. The Northern Chill City is really unusual. The cultivators here are at such a high level, Sumo thought. However, they only met 3 cultivators along the way. It seemed that the Northern Chill City was big, but the population was small. The outside of the square was also empty. Miaolong kept walking, but not too fast. She was mainly taking care of Sumo, who was still injured. After a few twists and turns, Miaolong finally brought Sumo to a house. The front of the house wasn't big, but there were high walls. Looking at it, it gave off a rather oppressive feeling. Sumo looked at the inscription on the horizontal board of the gate. reflection house. Huh. Suemo smiled bitterly in his heart. Could it be that Guan Xiong was in this house? Miao Long, led Sumo up a flight of stairs. The door opened automatically, but there was still no one. At that moment, Sumo felt a bit scared. If she hadn't seen a few cultivators just now. Sumo suspected that the northern Chill City was the second Si Yun villa. Sumo followed Miao Long, into the reflection house. It seemed that there were two courtyards. In the first courtyard, there were fake mountains, flowing water, and exquisite corridors and pavilions, but there was still no one there. Sumo followed Miao Long, to the second courtyard. Guan Xiong, don't play dead. I'm here, but you didn't come out to welcome me. Today, the person who saved you is here. If you don't come out, I'll lock you up for another 1,000 years. Miao Long, said while walking. Her voice was not loud, but Sumo knew that it must have reached every corner of the courtyard. Whoa. As soon as Miao Long finished speaking, Sumo heard the sound of crying coming from the second courtyard. It was the cry of a man, miserable and sorrowful. However, the way she cried was very strange. Eldest Miss, Guan Xiong knows his mistake. This time, Sumo recognized Guan Xiong's voice. However, there was no need to mention how miserable the voice was. Originally, Sumo really missed Guan Xiong. However, when he heard the sound of crying, his heart instantly relaxed. He knew Guan Xiong too well. If it was something serious, Guan Xiong wouldn't cry. That fellow was definitely a ruthless character at crucial moments. On the contrary, only bears who had nothing to do would act pitiful. Just now, that crying sound was even more feminine than a woman's. That meant that Guan Xiong was in a good mood, just bored. Miao Long sneered. She knew Guan Xiong better than Sumo, so she was completely indifferent. Every time she came, Guan Xiong was like this. She was already used to it. She was even a little tired of it. Guan Xiong, can't you come up with something new? However, this was also difficult for Guan Xiong. For 1,000 years, Miao Long came whenever he had nothing to do. How could he come up with something new? Sumo and Miao Long each pondered. Then they saw a shadow fly out from the second courtyard. To be precise, it was a meatball that flew out. That meatball went straight for Sumo. Little Sue, you're here. If you were any later, you probably wouldn't have seen me. That meatball said while flying. In theory, he should have landed in front of Sumo. However, Miao Long snorted coldly and whipped with one hand. A strong force directly hit Guan Xiong. Bang! Thus, Guan Xiong was directly whipped away by Miao Long's whip. With a bang, he smashed into the courtyard wall. However, that courtyard wall was really solid. Unexpectedly, it was not damaged at all. On the contrary, Guan Xiong was like a thick meat patty stuck to the wall. Ah! Missy, Guan Xiong screamed, then slid down the wall to the ground like a piece of dough. Oomph. Miao Long felt that Guan Xiong was both angry and funny. Little fatty, stop pretending to be dead. If you continue to pretend, even if Sumo comes, you won't be able to leave Heaven City. Ayaya. Miao Long. Last sentence was effective. However, Guan Xiong felt that he still had to pretend. Therefore, he supported himself with one hand on the wall and the other on his waist. No, he was so fat that he didn't even have a waist. In any case, Guan Xiong struggled to stand up. In fact, he didn't do anything. For this successful attack, Miao Long had hit him thousands of times. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Sumo, why are you so late? If you didn't come, I would have thought that you were dead. Guan Xiong looked at Sumo and said unhappily. Huh? Sumo looked at Guan Xiong and found that he had grown even fatter. He was now a super fatty. I drank too much and slept for 1,000 years. Sumo said. Bullsh *T. Guan Xiong shook his ball-like body and said angrily, Can't you find a reason that I can believe? For example, you were looking for me in the sea of people, but you couldn't find me. Huh? Sumo was stunned. He wasn't lying, but Guan Xiong didn't believe him. All right, Fatty Guan, I was indeed looking for you in the sea of people, but I couldn't find you. I didn't know where you were. I even asked people to ask about you. That's more like it. Guan Xiong comforted himself. It's my fault. The map I gave you didn't indicate the location of Heaven City, which is Northern Chill City. Otherwise, you would have been able to find me. He, Miao Long, sneered. You wish. Even if he knew about Heaven City, can a god's tribulation find you? This time, if I didn't save him, you wouldn't be able to see him again. In this life, you won't be able to see Sumo again. He was beaten like a dog by the 3 undead realm experts of the Dongfang clan. Huh. Sumo was speechless. Huh. Is that true? Guanxiong looked at Sumo and naturally saw that Sumo was injured. Then his face slightly changed. Early god's tribulation. You're quite fast. Ahem. Sumo didn't know how to answer Guanxiong's words, because he didn't know whether Guanxiong was praising him or ridiculing him. More than 1,000 years. Was early god's tribulation fast? In fact, sometimes Sumo felt that he slept for a really long time. Then, did Grandma help him more than help? Sumo, I believe you were drunk for 1,000 years. Guanxiong patted Sumo's shoulder and sighed. Otherwise, you were at the great perfection of the soul transformation realm. In 1,000 years, as long as you weren't a pig, you would have reached the high god's tribulation realm, right? Alas, Sumo, you need to be diligent and diligent in your cultivation. You can't be lazy. Don't disappoint the naked body. Guanxiong showed an angry expression, and at the same time, he inadvertently dispersed his pressure. Huh. Sumo was speechless. Then, she rolled her eyes at Guanxiong. Fatty, judging from your body shape, you can't be laughing at a pig, right? However, at this time, Sumo felt Guanxiong's pressure and found that Guanxiong had actually reached the early, undying realm. 1,000 years, a great realm advancement. This was not ordinary. How did Sumo remember that the late god tribulation realm was Guanxiong's limit? Humph. Miaolong exposed him. Guanxiong, don't act like a loser after getting a bargain. According to your words, you were a complete pig at that time. The early god's tribulation realm was your upper limit, and you couldn't advance even an inch for hundreds of years. This time, when you returned to Heaven City, if not for Master's consideration of you being in the White Bone Continent. Speaking up to here, Miaolong, tone slightly paused and changed the topic. Then, I will give you soul refining powder and death-breaking pill. Can you advance an entire great realm 1,000 years ago? Sumo suddenly understood. Cough, cough, cough. Guanxiong looked at Miao Long sadly. Eldest miss, shouldn't we talk more about diligent cultivators? I believe that my success is inseparable from my personal efforts. Chapter 299. In the second courtyard of the Reflection Temple, the walls were dozens of feet high. At this moment, only Su Mo and Guanxiong were left in the courtyard. Miao Long had left. It was dusk and snowflakes were falling in the northern cold city. Sumo was confused. Guanxiong looked up and smiled. There are no 4 seasons in the northern cold city, but there are 4 seasons. It's snowing at the right time. Hee hee, thanks to the snowy scenery. Sumo, let's have a drink later. The past 1,000 years have been like a prison. Guanxiong didn't look as playful as when Miao Long was around. Instead, there was a hint of complicated emotions. Sumo saw it, but didn't ask. They would have a lot to talk about after drinking. So, Sumo continued the topic. Guanxiong, why do you say that there are 4 seasons in the northern cold city? Normally, the 4 seasons should be in a cycle throughout the year. But the 4 seasons in the northern cold city are in a cycle of day and night. 6 hours each for spring, summer, autumn, and winter, Guanxiong said. Oh. Sumo looked at the snowflakes in the sky curiously. The snowflakes were real. It wasn't an illusion. We're all cultivators, and we're immune to the cold and heat. So, it's the same no matter what season it is. But it's also a miracle to see the 4 seasons in one day. Guanxiong pointed at a plum tree in the courtyard. Look, the plum tree is blooming, but it will wither before midnight. Sumo looked in the direction Guanxiong was pointing and saw a white plum tree blooming in the corner of the wall. A faint fragrance floated in the air. The night breeze was gentle and intoxicating. Why is the northern cold city like this? Sumo asked. Huh. It's because of the Northern Cold City Lord, Guan Xiong said. Who's the Northern Cold City Lord? Sumo asked. Northern Chill City Lord, it's a long story. Guan Xiong smiled and waved his hand. A wine pot and 2 wine cups instantly appeared on the stone table in the courtyard. The wine pot and the wine cup were like white jade, extremely exquisite. There were also a few plates of spirit food. Sumo had never seen any of those spirit foods before. The Northern Chill City was indeed magnificent. Sumo muttered to herself, Come, let's drink and talk. There are many things to talk about. Let's talk slowly. Guan Xiong picked up the wine pot and filled Sumo's cup for himself. The wine was overflowing and actually carried a faint white mist. It was extremely beautiful. We haven't seen each other for 1,000 years. Let me toast you. Guan Xiong raised his cup. I was indeed a little late. Sumo smiled bitterly. Huh. Then, both of them laughed. In fact, Guan Xiong did not expect Sumo to save him, because he was in no danger at all. When they arrived at Beihan City, Sumo also understood. Otherwise, Guan Xiong would have given him the address. Besides, if Guan Xiong couldn't get out of Northern Chill City, Sumo would be even more useless. That was why Guan Xiong had hoped that Sumo would come to the Chaotic Gods continent to gain some experience. The two of them clinked their glasses and drained their cups. Good wine. Sumo couldn't help but compliment. It was because the wine was extremely mellow and lingered, refreshing the mind. Sumo had drunk a lot of wine, but it seemed that only the wine from the white-haired granny at the southernmost tip of the White Bone continent could compare to it. Guan Xiong, this wine won't make me drunk, will it? Sumo asked with lingering fear. Sumo couldn't bear to have a dream of 1,000 years, unless he was in the undead state when he woke up. But how could such a good thing happen? Guan Xiong wouldn't have cultivated in Beihan City for 1,000 years if he could pass the divine tribulation just by drinking wine. How is that possible? Sumo, don't tell me that you were drunk for 1,000 years. You're traumatized by drinking now. Guan Xiong looked at Sumo suspiciously. Based on his understanding of Sumo, 1,000 years was indeed a bit too slow for him to reach the divine tribulation realm. Back then, Sumo hadn't been able to reach the divine tribulation realm because of her state of mind, not her strength. The inheritance of the Windwheel clan was definitely not weak. However, Sumo couldn't unleash her full potential. Back then, Sumo had a knot in her heart. Sumo laughed at herself. I'm not lying. I really drank wine once and was drunk for 1,000 years. But when I woke up, it was the divine tribulation. Oh, Guan Xiong was surprised. Tell me about it. So, Sumo told Guan Xiong about her encounter with a white-haired granny at the southernmost tip of the White Bone continent. Guan Xiong narrowed his eyes as he tasted the wine. He listened attentively. After Sumo finished, Guan Xiong laughed. Sumo, you're really lucky. Why do you always meet strange people? To tell you the truth, I was ordered to patrol the White Bone continent to find the heart of White Bone. I always thought that the people on the White Bone continent were ants. I see everything as clearly as a blazing flame. Unfortunately, there are still many things that I can't see through. I've been to the nameless town you mentioned, but I've never seen any white-haired granny. It seems that I still haven't met her. The wine she brewed can make you drunk for 1,000 years. She's definitely not an ordinary almighty. As he spoke, Guan Xiong suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed at Sumo. It was very sudden. Sumo instinctively wanted to dodge, but the distance was too close. Sumo couldn't dodge at all. Guan Xiong directly grabbed her wrist, and she couldn't break free. Sumo was stunned. Little Su, now you know how powerful an undying cultivator is. Guan Xiong squinted his eyes, looking proud and annoying. Sumo was speechless. It wasn't like he hadn't fought with an undying cultivator before. He wasn't on guard against Guan Xiong. Otherwise, how could he let him succeed? Guan Xiong was purely showing off. But Sumo understood that Guan Xiong wouldn't grab her wrist for no reason. Sure enough, after Guan Xiong grabbed Sumo's wrist, he slightly closed his eyes and frowned, looking like an old doctor checking her pulse. Unfortunately, Guan Xiong didn't have a beard. Otherwise, he would look more like one. Sumo looked at Guan Xiong and sneered. not saying anything. After a while, Guan Xiong released Sumo's wrist, opened his small eyes, and pretended to be profound. Strange. Guan Xiong took a sip of wine. He. Sumo looked at Guan Xiong with disdain. What? Am I pregnant? Eh. Guan Xiong was surprised, then asked, Sumo, you've cultivated to that realm. Go to hell. My realm isn't as high as yours. Sumo laughed and scolded. Damn fatty. Tell me, what did you feel? Yes. First, you're poisoned. Guan Xiong nodded. Of course. Sumo said angrily. Second, there's still wine in your body. Guan Xiong said solemnly this time. Why? Sumo didn't understand. Sumo, actually, you were already at the great perfection of the soul transformation realm, only one step away from the deity tribulation realm. At that time, you couldn't advance for more than 100 years, not because you didn't have enough spiritual power, but because your mental state wasn't strong enough. You should understand this point. Guan Xiong looked at Sumo. Yes. Sumo nodded. So, that white-haired granny only needed to say words to untie the knot in your heart, and advancing to the deity tribulation realm was a matter of course. And her 1,000-year-old wine is still hidden in your Dan Sea, but it hasn't been completely converted into cultivation. Guan Xiong said, What do you mean? Even if that 1,000-year-old wine can't make you immortal, it should be enough for you to reach the late stage of the deity tribulation realm. Sigh. That granny is definitely an almighty from another world. Could she be above the legendary reincarnation? Guan Xiong sighed inwardly, wondering why he didn't have such good luck. What? Sumo was shocked. 1,000-year-old wine, late stage of the deity tribulation realm? This was almost unimaginable. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.